Chapter 2101. You really don't know what's good for you. You're about to die, but you still want to steal my mirror? Su Fong smiled coldly. The power of the nine yang flooded into the crimson mirror. Shu Wanjin also released the power of the nine yin, which converge at the center of the origin, sacred mirror. At the same time, one of Su Fong's yang spirits sat cross-legged at the center of the mirror and used the yin-yang transformation. Yin and yang collided and merged, releasing a power that could split heaven and earth. Under the joint efforts of Su Fong and Shu Wanjin, the primeval origin, sacred mirror finally displayed its heaven-destroying, earth-shattering might. Qing Su, who was charging at Su Fong greedily, sensed the sudden burst of power from the origin's sacred mirror, and his expression changed instantly. This divine artifact is definitely not a divine creation artifact. It's a supreme divine artifact that surpasses divine creation artifacts. Impossible. How could such a divine artifact fall into the hands of a divine being as insignificant as an ant? How could it be unleashed with such power? Waves of shock surged in Qing Su's heart. Without hesitation, he unleashed all of his power and used his movement technique in an attempt to break free of the origin sacred mirror shackles. However, he was shocked to find that before he could release his power, it was reduced to nothingness by the origin sacred mirror's power. Not only that, Qing Su's physical body, life energy, and even his yang spirit and divine essence rapidly collapsed and disintegrated under the origin sacred mirror's power. They returned to their most primitive state and surged toward the origin sacred mirror. It wasn't just the azure void. Even the fragments of matter floating in the surrounding void, as well as the rainbow formed by the power of the world after the Golden Rainbow King's world shattered, were collapsing layer by layer, returning to their origins and being devoured by the origin sacred mirror. The power of the origin sacred mirror activated by the yin-yang transformation was terrifying. Yin and yang represented both creation and destruction. It allowed all things in the world and all laws to return to their original state, turning the acquired power of the world into a state of primal chaos. When Su Fong used his own strength to execute the yin-yang transformation, its power was already extremely shocking. He didn't expect that the origin sacred mirror activated by the yin-yang transformation would be tens of thousands of times more powerful. Not to mention Qing Su, even a region lord would be transformed into a strand of chaotic qi before the divine might of the chaos mirror. What kind of expert is this seat? To think that I would die in the hands of an insignificant ant. This seat is unwilling. Qing Su's divine body was shattered. His divine palace and divine aperture were all destroyed. His yang spirit was also doomed. In the end, he let out a furious roar filled with despair and unwillingness. Everything about him turned into chaotic energy. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that he would die at the hands of Su Fong. Outside the seven-layered rainbow, Ji Wuji, Jiang, and the other Ji people's experts, as well as the many recruited gods, were still waiting to reap the benefits. Meanwhile, the experts of the heavenly Peng celestial race were waiting for Qing Su to break through the Golden Rainbow King's world. Once the world collapsed, they would take the opportunity to reap some benefits. Because they were separated by 7 layers of rainbows, it was as if they were separated by 7 layers of worlds. Moreover, they were also affected by the chaotic space, so it was naturally difficult to sense what was happening inside. However, they could sense what was happening inside. Ji Wuji sent a voice transmission to Ji Yang, the other Ji people's experts, and the recruited experts. Get ready. Get ready to attack at any time to snatch the Golden Rainbow King's treasure. We can't let the heavenly Peng celestial race take it all for themselves. Then, Ji Wuji shouted coldly, Su Fong is still in the Golden Rainbow King's world. Other than the Golden Rainbow King's treasure, Su Fong is also something that I must obtain. Shackle him. I want to use him as a cultivation material and cultivate him into my 7th reincarnation. Ji Yang and the other Ji people's experts instantly became excited. The recruited gods were also excited. Even if they could not keep the treasure for themselves, as long as they could make a great contribution and become an expert of the G people, this risk would not be in vain. The heavenly Pung celestial race were also prepared to attack at any time. Who would have thought? Q8ZBSB. It was as if a huge black hole had suddenly appeared in the center of the 7 layers of rainbows and was crazily swallowing everything around it. The 7 layers of rainbows started to collapse from the inside out. Whether it was the chaotic energy or the remaining barriers and restrictions, all of them disintegrated and shattered. They gathered into a torrent and surged toward the center. The G people and the heavenly Pung celestial races experts could not control their bodies and were involuntarily moved toward the center. Ji Wuji was the same. Everyone unleashed their mystical abilities or activated their divine artifacts in an attempt to break free from the shackles. However, in the next moment, they were extremely shocked to find that their mystical abilities were rapidly disintegrating under that terrifying power. Their divine artifacts were all trembling and losing control. The arrays, seals, and even the divine artifacts were all collapsing. What happened? Everyone was surprised and shocked. Even if Qing Su had broken into the Golden Rainbow King's world, it would not have produced such a powerful force. Something must have happened to the Golden Rainbow King's world. Let's go. Ji Wuji realized that if they did not leave now, everyone would probably die here. He made a prompt decision. Ji Wuji spat out a mouthful of blood essence, which turned into a heavenly vibration force. Using the recoil force, his body turned into a sound wave and swept out in the opposite direction. He instantly appeared within the range of the divine mirror's terrifying power. Su Fong, let's see how lucky you are this time. What a pity for the Golden Rainbow King's treasures. Ji Wuji sighed regretfully. He did not stay any longer and flew straight out of the abyss. He had cultivated for 6 lifetimes and cultivated a cautious personality. Such a terrifying scene was already beyond his control, so he chose to leave without hesitation. The Origin's sacred mirror's terrifying might lasted for an incense stick's worth of time. The G people, the recruited experts, and the heavenly Pung celestial races experts were finally able to keep their lives. However, all of them were greatly injured. Not only did they lose all their power, but they also lost more than half of their life force and divine artifacts. They were almost at their limit. These people did not dare to stay any longer and quickly escaped from the depths of the abyss. In their severely weakened state, less than 1/3 of them were able to leave the abyss. Whoosh! Su Fong opened his mouth and swallowed the Origin divine mirror. Then his body staggered and he almost could not fly. What kind of divine artifact is this? It's definitely better than my piercing sun golden rainbow. How come I have never heard of such an amazing divine artifact in the myriad worlds? The Golden Rainbow King's world spirit saw Qing Su's death through Su Fong's eyes and the shocking scene caused by the Origin divine mirror. He fell into a state of extreme shock and fear towards the Origin divine mirror and Su Fong, who was controlling it. Seeing Su Fong's aura dispirited, an appearance like he was drained, only then did the Golden Rainbow Monarch's heart balance out a little. He said gloatingly, "Brat, do you want this seat to lend you a helping hand?" Oomph! The experts of the Tian Pung celestial race and the G people, especially that Ji Wuji who is cultivated for 6 lifetimes, are all waiting outside. Maybe they were frightened by my supreme divine artifact just now. If they react, hee, I won't be able to escape and you will also suffer. Your treasures will also be divided among them. Su Fong knew that this world spirit had extraordinary means and was definitely not an ordinary artifact spirit. It would be easy for him to leave the abyss. The Golden Rainbow King said, "Fine, I'll let you off easy this time." Then, a golden rainbow flashed and shot out from Su Fong's body. It was the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle. However, it was not the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle that Su Fong used before. Its luster and aura were obviously several times more vast. Su Fongdao was shocked. "When did my sky-piercing rainbow shuttle fall into your hands?" "What do you mean your sky-piercing rainbow shuttle? It's clearly mine." The Golden Rainbow King corrected Su Fong. Then he said proudly, "The sky-piercing rainbow shuttle was refined by me by imitating the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle. Since I treated it as a token, I naturally have a hidden method to control it. When you, the Tian Peng Celestial Races Jr., and that little girl from outer space entered the Disillusionment Executioner Mirror, I secretly obtained all 3 sky-piercing rainbow shuttles. The sky-piercing rainbow shuttle you see is a combination of 3 shuttles. This is the true sky-piercing rainbow shuttle, and its quality is at the peak of supreme grade." The Golden Rainbow King's world spirit turned into a golden rainbow and entered the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle, disappearing without a trace. "Brat, although the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle that I personally refined is not as good as the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle, and its quality is not at the level of a half-creation divine artifact, it's still a peerless divine artifact. I'll let you see its true power," the Golden Rainbow King said proudly. A golden rainbow exploded and enveloped Su Fong. Su Fong felt as if he had turned into a golden rainbow and became an existence of light. Screech! The golden rainbow tore through the sky. Su Fong turned into a golden rainbow and sped through the void. He felt as if time and space were constantly changing. The endless river of stars flashed and disappeared as he shuttled through a vast and violent torrent of chaos. Fortunately, Su Fong's primordial spirit was strong enough, and his yang spirit was stable enough. Otherwise, if he used his primordial spirit to sense the outside world, his primordial spirit would be injured instantly. Whoosh, the golden rainbow flashed, and Su Fong returned to his normal state from that strange state. Before he could sense his surroundings, Su Fong felt as if the sky and earth were spinning. His entire divine body and yang spirit were falling apart. After a long time, Su Fong gradually returned to his normal state. He took a closer look. It turned out that the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle had actually left the abyss and appeared in the periphery of a divine world. This was a small world, but it had already become a world of resurrected experts. Moreover, the world barrier around the periphery of the divine world had collapsed. It would not be long before it turned into ruins. Let's recover first. Su Fong released Pan Zong and kept him in his internal world. He swallowed pills and spiritual items to recover. Pan Zong headed straight for the divine world, carefully avoiding the resurrected experts along the way. He found a barren desert and flew down. Su Fong came out of Pan Zong's body. He had already recovered a little. He quickly took out divine stones and the life-shrinking technique rune talisman to create a formation. It was mainly used to conceal his aura and prevent the resurrected experts from disturbing him. Chapter 2102. This trip to the Golden Rainbow King's world was a great harvest. The birth of the 64th Yang Meridian, the ascension to the godly venerable realm, and the second heaven. More importantly, Su Fong's Tao heart had become more open-minded after dissolving his inner demons in the Disillusionment Executioner Mirror. He had obtained great spiritual freedom, and would no longer be troubled by inner demons on his future cultivation path. Although he did not obtain the Divine Creation Artifact, Su Fong had taken the Golden Rainbow King's world and all his treasures into his inner world. This meant that he had taken the Golden Rainbow King's treasures in one fell swoop. He had also killed a Golden Rock Big Goblin and a peerless expert of the Heavenly Rock Divine race. These were all supreme resources for Su Fong's cultivation. The only thing that Su Fong felt a little regretful was that Ji Wuji had escaped. However, Su Fong's current strength was no longer as fearful of Ji Wuji as he had been in the land of the resting gods. Su Fong had risked his life to obtain so many treasures. I wonder if I will have the chance to see Goddess Luo again in the future. A sense of loss surged in Su Fong's heart when he thought of Goddess Luo. The fantasy world was unforgettable. How could it be so easily forgotten? Su Fong's yang spirit came to a huge floating object in the depths of his inner world. This object was the Golden Rainbow King's broken world. Su Fong's inner world was a universe of its own. At this time, not to mention the Golden Rainbow King's world, even a great world or even a vast star field could easily accommodate it. However, Su Fang's inner world was different from the outer world. It was temporarily unable to absorb the natural spiritual energy of heaven and earth for cultivation, so it was not suitable for gods to live in. Senior Golden Rainbow King, take out the treasures. Su Fang impatiently transmitted his nascent spirit voice to the Golden Rainbow King. How can I easily take out my treasures and give them to you? The Golden Rainbow King's somewhat shameless voice sounded. Su Fang was dumbfounded. Golden Rainbow King, are you going back on your word? The Golden Rainbow King chuckled and replied, This seat has long since fallen. Now that I'm in your inner world, what's the use of leaving these treasures behind? But if you want to get the treasure, you have to show some sincerity. Sincerity? Su Fang was shocked. What kind of sincerity do you want? I've decided to make a deal with you. I am now the spirit of the world, and there is no hope for me to be resurrected. Thus, I have no other requests. There's only one hope, and that is to take a look at outer space. Su Fang said angrily, You want me to take you to outer space and then give me treasures? If I have the strength to leave this world and go to the outer space, at that time, your treasures will only be a pile of trash in my eyes. What use do I have for these treasures? I haven't finished speaking yet. Why are you in such a hurry? I've thought about it, and I feel that the hope of letting you go to outer space is a little slim. But I'm not willing to give you the treasures directly. Thus, I've decided to make an exception and accept you as my disciple. This way, I'll give you the treasures and feel at ease. You want to accept me as your disciple? Su Fang was so shocked that he didn't come back to his senses for a long time. The Golden Rainbow King coldly snorted and said imposingly, What? Is it wrong for you to take me as your master? Back in the day, I moved unhindered through the heavens and 10,000 worlds. I didn't even put domain lord powerhouses in my eyes. Don't tell me I don't have the qualifications to be your master. But I already have a master. Su Fang's head was somewhat throbbing. Taking such an unruly, wild, and somewhat perverted spirit of the world as his master. What kind of joke was this? Deities have a long lifespan. Who knows how many masters they have to take in their lives? Even if you have 8 or 10 masters, so what? Take your time to think about it. I'm not in a hurry anyway. It won't be too late to take me as your master after you've thought about it. That heaven-piercing rainbow shuttle will be my greeting gift to you. Su Fang took back the young spirit, feeling very depressed in his heart. He watched helplessly as the treasures were in his inner world, but he couldn't take any of them. Forcibly destroying the Golden Rainbow King's world and seizing all the treasures was not difficult for Su Fang. However, with Su Fang's temperament, he still couldn't do this. This old monster, the Golden Rainbow King, is really a headache. Su Fang knocked his somewhat swollen head. He could only put the Golden Rainbow King's treasure aside for the time being. Let's recover first. Su Fang took out the Origin's sacred mirror and rolled out a fist-sized scarlet bead from it. It looked a bit like an elixir, but it wasn't an elixir. It was an Origin bead formed by using the yin-yang transformation to activate the Origin sacred mirror and refining the heavenly Peng powerhouse, Qingsu. It was different from the Origin bead formed by Su Fang refining the Big Goblin and other spiritual objects. Due to using the yin-yang transformation, this Origin bead contained not only the Origin yang qi, but also the chaos qi formed by the fusion of the yin-yang qi. It was of a higher level than the yin-yang qi. If I were to completely refine this chaos essence bead, just how shocking would my cultivation rise to? It might even give birth to a new yang meridian. Su Fang felt the astonishing power in the Origin bead and was overjoyed. At this time, the scarlet mirror suddenly fluctuated. Then, an extremely cold aura swept out from it, and Shu Wanjin's voice. Su Fang, give me a portion of the chaos qi. Activating the Origin sacred mirror to suppress the heavenly Peng powerhouse had consumed a lot of Shu Wanjin's energy. The chaos qi was the Origin qi of the universe and was naturally very beneficial to her. Su Fang was able to achieve what he had today because of Shu Wanjin's help. No matter how precious the Origin bead was, Su Fang was not stingy. She immediately wrapped the Origin bead in yang qi and sent it to the center of the origin sacred mirror. Then, she extracted the chaos chi from it and sent it into the black mirror. Shu Wanjin stopped absorbing the chaos chi when there was only a third of it left. Su Fang asked, "Senior sister, why don't you take all the chaos chi in the origin bead? It's enough. With so many chaos chi refined by hierarch powerhouses, it's enough for me to break through the shackles of my cultivation and reach new heights." Su Fang, I won't thank you. After I break through, I'll need your help to escape. In about 1,000 years, we'll meet again. Shu Wanjin's voice was no longer cold, but filled with excitement and anticipation. 1,000 years? I'm looking forward to the day when senior sister completely escapes. Su Fang was also sincerely happy for Shu Wanjin. Thinking of Shu Yunkong, who was still on the verge of death, Su Fang's mood became heavy again. Taking the origin bead out of the origin sacred mirror, Su Fang extracted the energy from the origin bead and merged it with the yin and yang qi before absorbing it into the world tree. The origin bead contained the origin yang qi, the ancient mirror's yin and yang qi, as well as the chaos qi. The moment the world tree absorbed the high-grade energy, it trembled violently and grew at an unprecedented speed. After merging the energy from the origin bead, it turned into the yin and yang qi of the world and poured into the yang meridian. Su Fang activated the 9 suns, 9 changes, and the world tree to recover his energy while attacking the 65th meridian. About 100 years passed in the Cavern of Time. Chi. There was a huge commotion in the Heaven and Earth Dao Palace. What's going on? Su Fang hurriedly looked at the yang meridian in the depths of his body with surprise and urgency. It turned out that the commotion came from the meridian. The yang qi that was attacking the 65th meridian was surging and a shocking energy was brewing. In the Golden Rainbow King's world, Su Fang obtained a piece of golden sunstone and successfully formed the 64th yang meridian. How could Su Fang not be surprised that another yang meridian was about to be born in such a short time? It was naturally the origin yang qi in the origin bead that was able to form a yang meridian so quickly. One had to know that the origin bead contained the cultivation and life force of a peerless expert who had surpassed the ultimate god realm. It was refined by the yin-yang transformation and the origin sacred mirror. How shocking was the origin yang qi, yin and yang qi, and chaos qi it contained. It was not strange for a yang meridian to be born in such a short time. However, the 65th yang meridian still needed to be attacked before it could be born successfully. After all, this yang meridian had only settled for a short period of time and would probably need more time to attack. Su Fang focused all his attention on the 65th yang meridian. He sealed the world tree and let all the energy in the yang meridian and his entire body circulate through the major heavenly cycle to attack the meridian that was about to be born. Sizzle. The shocking impact caused the yin-yang Dao wheel in the vortex to burn crazily and tremble. Another 3 years passed. Chi. His body trembled violently. It turned out that the 65th yang meridian was finally born after using all the true qi in his body countless times. This meridian burned with pure yang flames. When the flames calmed down, the entire meridian was no longer ordinary. It was a jade-like yang meridian that was filled with yang qi. The yang qi in the first 64 yang meridians also absorbed the 9 yin frost qi from the primordial chaos sacred realm and surged into the newly born 65th yang meridian. At the same time, the yang meridian automatically moved and fused with the 64th yang meridian in the yin-yang Dao wheel. When he activated the other yang meridian, the newly born yang meridian was not the only yang meridian. Su Fang felt the yang qi in his body surging like a river into the ocean. It roared like a tsunami, causing the yang qi in Su Fang's body to surge mightily. Another yang meridian was successfully born. The yang qi in the yang meridian became even more vast. Furthermore, the yang energy had undergone a qualitative change. His divine body's life force and vitality also increased by a lot. His vitality became even more tenacious. Another Yang Meridian is born. This trip to the Golden Rainbow King realm is really worth it. Su Fong was delighted. His tired face was filled with a smile. Following that, Su Fong continuously consumed pills and cultivated further to replenish the yang qi he had consumed. During the recovery process, Su Fong discovered that the cultivation resources of his subordinates in his internal world were gradually becoming scarce. Chapter 2103. Greetings, Master. Pan Zong led nearly 100,000 subordinates and knelt before Su Fong. The sunflower water mermaid, fire lizard, and many other big goblin knelt before Su Fong at the same time. I've said before that if you follow Su Fong, as long as you don't have any thoughts of rebellion, I won't mistreat you. Heaven and earth are constantly changing, and the calamity has already swept through all the worlds. No one can guarantee that they will survive the calamity. However, no matter what, we have to fight for a chance of survival for ourselves. Su Fong will give you a chance. Whether you can seize it or not is up to you. Su Fong said majestically. Then, the power of yin and yang enveloped all his subordinates. Many of his subordinates didn't understand Su Fong's intentions. Just as they were feeling surprised, a mysterious aura, along with the power of the world, descended on everyone in the big goblin. This is the power of the chaotic divine tribulation, the legendary chaotic aura. Master actually has so much chaotic aura. Master is mighty. Master actually took out such precious chaotic aura for us to cultivate. Following such a master, it's worth dying for. They sensed that the aura released by Su Fong contained an astonishing amount of chaotic aura. Although each of them only had one strand, this strand of chaotic aura was extremely precious to any god or big goblin. Su Fong actually took out so much chaotic aura at once and generously let his subordinates cultivate. How could they not be loyal to such a master? Pan Zong and his subordinates, as well as the big goblin, were all moved to tears. At the same time, they were extremely excited and hurriedly found a place to cultivate this strand of chaotic aura. This plane of the god realm was filled with resurrected experts. However, Su Fong activated the heaven-concealing star flag and was in the depths of a desolate desert. Naturally, no resurrected experts would be attracted. Su Fong's subordinates not only had an endless supply of cultivation resources, but they could also comprehend the great Dao stone tablet that Su Fong had personally created. Their realms and cultivation levels were rapidly improving. Now that they had obtained another strand of chaotic aura, some of them quickly broke through. Su Fong's men encountered the same shackles as Su Fong. When he was ascending a small step, he could not sense it. However, when he broke through a large step, the repulsive force of the heavenly Tao immediately became obvious. Although it wasn't as terrifying as Su Fong's breakthrough, it reduced the probability of him breaking through to the next realm. Su Fong couldn't find a good solution at the moment, so he could only let Pan Zong and the other subordinates who were trying to break through to the next realm continue to accumulate. If it really didn't work, he would have to personally take action and forcefully plunder it from the heavenly Tao. While his subordinates were digesting the chaos aura, Su Fong was also stripping energy from the chaos orb for the dragon bird to cultivate. He gave 2/3 of the chaos essence bead to Shu Wan and gave the rest to Long Yao subordinates. There wasn't much left, but it was enough for Su Fong to level up. Su Fong kept devouring the energy in the pills and chaos essence bead, gradually stabilizing his cultivation base at the normal second heaven of divine venerable realm. About 1,000 years had passed. Su Fong kept his subordinates into his inner world, then put away the heaven-shrouding star flag and prepared to head to Rainbow Void City to completely settle the matter of the Shu clan. Previously, Su Fong had sent his subordinates into the God Realm. He had already found out that the God Realm he was in was still within the G people's sphere of influence. Su Fong also had the heaven-breaking Rainbow Shuttle. After the Golden Rainbow King merged the three into one and activated it, it wouldn't take long for him to return to Rainbow Void City. Just as Su Fong was preparing to return to Rainbow Void City, a moving world appeared in the sky above Rainbow Void City. It turned out that Ji Wuji had finally returned from the abyss. After escaping from the abyss, Ji Wuji waited for a long time. In the end, he didn't see anything unusual and returned to the abyss. The Golden Rainbow King's world had already disappeared without a trace. Only then did he gather the G people and the experts he recruited and return to Rainbow Void City. Putting away the moving world, Ji Wuji led the experts and headed straight for Rainbow Void City. When he left, Ji Wuji had brought more than 1,000 people with him. Now, only about 300 people had returned. Not only the recruited gods, but many of the G people's experts had also died in the abyss. In the abyss, everyone, including Ji Wuji, was affected by the divine power of the Origin's sacred mirror and suffered heavy losses in their cultivation. They had no choice but to stay in Rainbow Void City for a while before returning to the G people. Welcome, young Master Ji. The Shu clan leader led many Shu clan members to welcome Ji Wuji. The Shu clan leader was no longer the clan leader who had sided with the G people. Instead, he was a puppet that had been possessed by Su Fong's second primordial spirit. The Shu clan leader's eyes flashed with a divine light. He couldn't sense Su Fong's aura and couldn't help but frown. No need to be so polite. Ji Wuji waved his hand. Although his actions were domineering, they still didn't lose their elegance. Just as he was about to enter the Shu clan, Ji Wuji's divine light suddenly changed. He reached out and grabbed a token. It turned out that an expert from the G people had sent a message to Ji Wuji. What? How is this possible? Ji Wuji's consciousness entered the token and sensed it. The divine light in his eyes changed instantly. His usual elegant demeanor was gone at this moment. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Ji Ong asked in surprise, "Young master, could it be that something big has happened in the clan? Something that could move Ji Wuji naturally couldn't be ordinary." Ji Ong immediately became nervous. Just now, news came from the clan. They said that an expert from the clan received an unbelievable piece of news from a guardian of the Origin Golden Roll. Su Fong is still on the Origin Golden Roll and is still alive. Also, news came from the Heavenly Peng Divine Race. They said that the Heavenly Peng Divine Race's expert Ching Su's life token shattered, and he has died. The time of his death was when the abyss of the abyss of the abyss changed. Ji Wuji's expression darkened as he spoke slowly. How is this possible? Could that kid be so heaven-defying? Jiyoung also found it unbelievable. Ji Wuji didn't deliberately hide anything and directly revealed two shocking pieces of news. The many G people behind him and the experts he had recruited were all extremely shocked after hearing this. They couldn't help but become restless. A cold smile flashed across the eyes of the Shu clan leader, who was being controlled by the second primordial spirit. Jiyoung, I suspect that the Golden Rainbow Monarch's treasure is most likely in Su Fong's hands. As for Ching Su, it's also very likely that he was killed by Su Fong. Although Ji Wuji was unwilling to believe it, he still calmly speculated. Jiyoung shook his head and said, "Young master, you think too highly of Su Fong. Although he is extraordinary and has supreme providence, and it's possible that he obtained the Golden Rainbow Monarch's treasure, it's absolutely impossible for him to kill Ching Su. The more this kid makes me feel threatened, the more I feel threatened. If we don't get rid of him as soon as possible, he will become a great threat to our clan." Ji Wuji's eyes were filled with fear. He didn't say anything else and flew toward the mountain peak where the Shu clan was located. Suddenly, Ji Wuji turned around and looked at the Shu clan leader. Has Shu Yunkong's descendant been well-behaved during this period of time? That portion of the Shu clan members have been well-behaved, the Shu clan leader replied respectfully. Kill them all, Ji Wuji said indifferently. The Shu clan leader was startled. Kill them all? Young Master Ji YY? I'm in a bad mood and want to kill them to vent my anger. Is this reason sufficient? Ji Wuji said coldly. You dare to disobey young master's orders? Ji Eng's aura exploded, causing the Shu clan leader to stagger and almost spit out blood. At this moment, a higher-up of the Shu clan suddenly spoke up. Young Master Ji and Lord Jiang still don't know, but the clan leader seems to have changed into a different person after you left. During this period of time, he has been siding with the Shu clan rebels, and his behavior has been very abnormal. Although the Shu clan was small, it was still the clan leader of a clan with a high position and authority. The position of the Shu clan leader was naturally targeted by many Shu clan members. This higher-up wanted to use this opportunity to curry favor with Ji Wuji and Jiang, so he betrayed the Shu clan leader without hesitation. Is there such a thing? Ji Wuji raised his eyebrows. He did not allow the Shu clan leader to explain. With a flick of his finger, a sound wave was shot out from the tip of his finger. Poof! Ji Wuji's attack was a finger art that specialized in breaking Yang spirit attacks. It was extremely powerful. The Shu clan leader was only at the Divinity Emperor realm. He could not dodge Ji Wuji's attack, and his Divinity Aperture's defense was broken by the finger art. But the Shu clan leader's body swayed, and in the next moment, he turned around and flew away. A Divinity Emperor realm immortal can resist my primordial spirit attack? Ji Wuji was not surprised. He shouted in a domineering manner. There is something wrong with this man. Jiang, take some in and capture him. Jiang said, Young master, go back and rest first. After I capture this man, we will see who he is and why he sneaked into the Shu clan. Then, Jiang gave the higher-up of the Ji people an order filled with murderous intent. Take your people and kill all the Shu clan members of Shu Yunkong's branch. Leave no one alive. After this is done, you will be the Shu clan leader. Also, I promise to give you the surname Ji. Yes, thank you, Lord Jiang. The higher-up of the Shu clan was very excited. He led the other warriors of the Shu clan and flew toward the mountain where the Shu clan leader of Shu Juyue's father's branch lived. Ji Wuji, on the other hand, went straight to the palace that was the center of power of the Shu clan. He no longer cared about his second primordial spirit and the Shu clan members of Shu Yunkong's branch. As far as he was concerned, these people were nothing but ants. They were not worth his attention. At this time, the Shu clan leader had already escaped from the barrier of the Rainbow Void Imperial City. Jiang sneered. After he formed a seal, the power of time enveloped him. Then, he took a step forward. When Jiang reappeared, he was already 100 miles away from the Shu clan leader. It was as if he had been waiting for the Shu clan leader for a long time. Why don't you surrender in front of me? Jiang shouted in a domineering manner. After he formed a seal, the power of time swept toward the Shu clan leader. Swish! Swish swish. Chapter 2104. Jiang's cultivation had reached the level of a high-level supreme god, and he was even more powerful than an ordinary realm lord. He was a ninth heaven supreme god. Moreover, Jiang cultivated the great Tao of time, and he had mastered the most powerful divine powers in the universe. Wouldn't it be easy for him to suppress a divine emperor? Seeing that the Shu clan's patriarch's lifespan had decreased by more than half under the power of time, Jiang reached out and grabbed the Shu clan's patriarch. The supreme Ji people are the heavens of your Shu clan. How can you defy the will of the heavenly Tao? I'd like to see who gave an ant like you the courage to go against the laws of the Ji clan. Soul search. Jiang shouted domineeringly. He reached out his right hand and pressed it on the Shu clan leader's head. A Yang spirit entered the divine aperture, and the power of the primordial spirit exploded. Suddenly, a black Xianguang with a wave of primordial spirit instantly shattered Jiang's primordial spirit. What is this? Jiang was shocked and was about to withdraw the Yang spirit. However, the primordial spirit wave released by the black Xianguang wrapped around Jiang's Yang spirit and crushed it instantly. Moreover, the black Xianguang entered Jiang's body through his palm and into his divine aperture. What a powerful primordial spirit. Where did you come from? How dare you take over the Shu clan leader's body? No matter who you are in my spiritual world, I am the supreme ruler. You can only die. Jiang finally understood. Although he was shocked, Jiang was confident that his primordial spirit was strong. Now that he was inside his divine aperture, he was not afraid. Instead, he was arrogant. Jiang, I'll show you who I am. The cold voice of Su Fang's second primordial spirit came out from the black mark. Then, a primordial spirit rose from the mark and condensed into a lifelike Su Fang. All of a sudden, Ji Ang's arrogance seemed to have been doused with a ladle of ice water. His young spirit trembled, and he shouted in disbelief, Su Fang, you're actually Su Fang. No, you're not Su Fang at all. Su Fang's primordial spirit is definitely not this powerful. You probably don't dare to believe that I, who you once regarded as an ant, actually possess such a powerful soul, right? Whether you believe it or not, you will die in my hands today. Back then, you forced Mo Fenghua's parents to their deaths. Ji people hunted down my master, Shu Yunkong, senior sister Shu Wanjin, and you repeatedly attacked me. Today, I will put an end to all of this. The second primordial spirit pointed at Ji Ong and shouted coldly, Shu Yunkong, Shu Wanjin, you are actually Shu Yunkong's disciple? Young Master Ji Wuji's conjecture was correct. You really are related to the Shu clan. It's a good opportunity to kill you and eliminate all future troubles. Ji Ang's yang spirit exploded with an astonishing primordial spirit aura that turned into a surging wave of primordial spirit. Not to mention a divine emperor, even a high-level supreme god's primordial spirit would be devoured in his divine aperture. Charm God Soul Absorbing Seal. Facing such a terrifying primordial spirit aura, the second primordial spirit showed no fear. He displayed the supreme primordial spirit aura of the Charm of Night. A terrifying primordial spirit aura that could devour and fuse with primordial spirits charged towards Jiang. A battle of life and death unfolded in Ji Ang's spiritual world. At this moment, the higher-ups of the Shu clan who received Ji Ang's order led many experts of the Shu clan to the cliff where Shu Yunkong lived. Shu Yunkong's branch of the Shu clan was originally the main branch of the Shu clan. Later, Shu Yunkong and Shu Wanjin offended the Ji people and were hunted down by the Ji people. One was trapped in a mysterious secret realm, and the other escaped to the outside world. Q8 ZBSB. The main branch of the Shu clan was suppressed by the Ji people. All their experts were suppressed, and they lost control of the Shu clan. On the other hand, the branch of the Shu clan was supported by the Ji people and became the rulers of the Shu clan. There had always been many conflicts between the main branch and the branch of the Shu clan. Of course, the main branch was always suppressed and even bullied by the branch. This could be seen from Shu Jiaoyue's experience. However, the main branch was deeply rooted. The branch of the Shu clan could control the Shu clan, but it was impossible to completely eradicate the main branch. This time, the chance had finally come. With the support of the Ji people, the branch of the Shu clan was instantly filled with confidence. They planned to uproot the main branch and completely eliminate them from the Shu clan. The higher-ups of the Shu clan gave the order. Not only the experts of the branch of the Shu clan, but also the ordinary members of the clan moved out in full force. 500 to 600,000 members of the Shu clan surrounded the entire cliff. They were like a pack of hungry wolves that wanted to devour the main branch of the Shu clan. Some members of the branch of the Shu clan even started to fantasize about how many resources and women they could get after the main branch swallowed them. The leader of the higher-ups was even more pleased with himself. This person was an old man with white hair. He had triangular eyes and a goatee. He looked a bit wretched. He usually didn't stand out among the higher-ups of the Shu clan. Who would have thought that he would seize this heaven-sent opportunity to obtain Ji Ang's favor and successfully overthrow the clan leader? As long as he suppressed the main branch of the Shu clan and satisfied Jiang, not only would he become the supreme ruler of the Shu clan, he would also join the Ji people. This made the old man with the goatee feel like he was floating in the air. His usual wretchedness was swept away and replaced with a domineering aura. All members of the main branch, listen up. The supreme Ji people have decreed that you will all be suppressed. This seat does not wish to see members of the same clan kill each other. Therefore, I will give you a way out. Surrender and become slaves of the branch. The old man with the goatee's majestic voice instantly spread throughout the area where the main branch of the Shu clan resided. Lackeys of the G people. A thunderous roar sounded. Over 100 figures flew over from the cliff. These people were led by Shu Jiuyue's father. Most of the others were cultivators of the main branch of the Shu clan. There weren't many experts. There were also a few unfamiliar faces. Their auras were empty and their eyes were filled with disdain. The old man with the goatee coldly shouted, "In the past, Shu Yunkong offended the G people and was suppressed by the G people. The G people were merciful and left the Shu clan a way out. However, you people of the main branch refused to submit to the G people. Even death cannot wipe out your crimes. If it weren't for you people of the main branch, we would have already become the vassals of the G people. How would we have ended up in Rainbow Desolation City? These lowly clansmen of the main branch are still stubborn. Sooner or later, they will drag down the entire Shu clan. What's there to pity them for? Capture them all. The men will be slaves, and the women will be divided among the clansmen or sold." Even young Master Ji Wuji was angered. How can they not be exterminated this time? The other branches of the Shu clan all loudly shouted. They looked at the clansmen of the main branch of the Shu clan. Their eyes were filled with an inexplicable excitement and greed. Shu Jiue was so angry that his entire body trembled. "We are all of the same clan. You are willing to be the dogs of the G people and treat your clansmen like this?" A young man behind Shu Jiue suddenly said, "Jiayue, why are you wasting your breath on these beasts? There is only one word for them: kill." This young man was wearing clothes made of animal skin. He looked to be in his early 20s. His hair was messy, and he looked like a savage. However, when this person spoke, his aura was shocking. He was at the peak of the 9th heaven of the divine emperor realm. This person was Sun Qi. Hearing Sun Qi's address, Shu Jiuyue's face reddened. "Young Master Sun Qi, your injuries have not healed. I, Sun Qi, am not a young master. I am a slave. However, I, Sun Qi, will never wag my tail and beg for mercy. I hate dogs like these the most. Although my injuries have not healed, killing a bunch of dogs is as easy as pie." Sun Qi shouted loudly, reaching out his hand to grab a blood-red flying sword. The old man with the goatee's expression changed instantly. "Peak of the 9th heaven of the divine emperor realm? Since when did the main branch of the Shu clan have such an expert?" Then he shouted domineeringly, "I am not a member of the G people. No matter who you are, disrespecting the supreme G people is a crime punishable by death. Moreover, young Master Ji Wuji is in my clan right now. If you dare to touch even a strand of my head, he will make sure you die without a burial place. Of course I know Ji Wuji is here. I will kill you first, then I will kill Ji Wuji." Sun Qi shouted coldly. A sword intent with a monstrous murderous aura suddenly exploded. The terrifying sword intent enveloped the old man with the goatee and the surrounding members of the Shu clan. All of them trembled as if their souls were about to be shattered by this terrifying sword intent. Suddenly, a middle-aged man in a green robe said, "Sun Qi, wait. You big goblin, are you trying to stop me?" Sun Qi was startled. The one who stopped Sun Qi was Qingyu. Before Su Fong left, he told us to keep these dogs of the G people alive. He has his uses. Fine, I will keep them alive then. Sun Qi activated the blood-red flying sword. Sharp sword aura shot out and a blood-soaked sword ray swept out. "I'm not a member of the G people. How dare you?" The old man with the goatee's divine light changed instantly. He could not resist Sun Qi's terrifying attack at all. The sword aura pierced through his divine palace and destroyed his cultivation. Among the hundreds of thousands of members of the Shu clan, some had their divine palaces destroyed by Sun Qi's sword aura, while others had their yang spirits shattered by the murderous aura in the sword intent. In the blink of an eye, the Shu clan members around the cliff became sparse. Miserable screams rang out one after another. More than half of them could not maintain their flight and fell to the ground like dumplings. As expected of a peerless genius on the primordial chaos golden list, Sun Qi's violent attack was terrifying. It had far surpassed the limit of a divine emperor and reached the level of a lower ultimate god. Qingyu reached out and grabbed. A divine power of space exploded and sucked the Shu clan members in the air and on the ground into his internal space. Just like that, the Shu clan members who had wholeheartedly pledged their allegiance to the Ji people were easily suppressed by Sun Qi and Qingyu. Sun Qi, I did not expect you to be able to escape from the land of divine, resting spirits. You really surprised me. Ji Wuji's figure slowly appeared in the sky. His casual tone was filled with an unparalleled, domineering aura. Young Master Tianwu, by Holan, and this revived expert, Peng Yao Hiao, I did not expect Su Fang's subordinates to be hiding under my nose. Where is Su Fang? Come out. Chapter 2105. Ji Wuji, this is merely your second body. Why do you need Su Fang to act? You severely injured me in the land of the resting gods. I, Sun Qi, will always remember this grudge. Killing your second body can be considered as revenge for that day. Sun Qi's killing intent surged as he activated the blood-colored flying sword and charged towards Ji Wuji. Ji Wuji, I, young Master Tianwu, will also remember what you did to the land of the resting gods. Let's repay it all today. Young Master Tianwu roared as he followed Sun Qi and charged towards Ji Wuji. He cultivated the Tao of the Realm Lord. After forming a seal, he activated the power of the realm and swept out. Ji Wuji, although I, by Holan, am weak and know that I am not your match, I still have to take revenge for the land of the resting gods. Ji Wuji, hand over your life. Bai Holan also attacked. He activated his water, great Tao Mystique, and charged towards Ji Wuji. Today, I will let you know that you so-called peerless geniuses are just a joke in front of me. Even with my second body, I can still easily suppress you. Ji Wuji's lips curled into a disdainful smile. He formed a seal with his hands and then flicked it in the air. Buzz, 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 the sound of the heavenly Tao resonating in the void flowed out from Ji Wuji's fingers. Wherever it went, Sun Qi's killing intent and sword intent shattered layer by layer. Young Master Tianwu and Bai Holan's attacks were also shattered by the sound of the heavenly Tao. You can't even withstand a single blow. Ji Wuji smiled elegantly as void ripples shot out from his eyes. They quickly transformed into a divine might that shook the primordial spirit and enveloped Sun Qi. Sun Qi felt his yang spirit, and even his divine aperture trembled violently. His yang spirit almost shattered, and his primordial spirit became blurry in an instant. He gritted his teeth and spat out a mouthful of essence blood onto the blood-colored flying sword. The flying sword made a clanging sound as it flew out. Only then did it stop Ji Wuji's primordial spirit attack. However, Sun Qi's primordial spirit was also heavily injured and had no choice but to retreat to Shu Jiyue's side. Ji Wuji then took a step forward and flicked his fingers continuously. Streaks of heavenly Tao resonating in the air let out sharp screeches as they penetrated young Master Tianwu's realm defense and pierced a dozen holes in his divine body. Then, Ji Wuji threw another punch at Bai Holan. Bai Holan felt like the space around him was shackled. Right after that, he heard an explosion. A torrent of energy exploded and hit Bai Holan, shattering his body from the waist down. He was severely wounded. In less than 10 breaths of time, Ji Wuji had severely injured 3 peerless experts. His strength was actually this strong, and this was only Ji Wuji's second body. If all 6 bodies were to fuse together, how astonishing would his strength be? Ji Wuji took a step in the air and arrived above young Master Tianwu. Then, he took a step forward, and an astonishing divine might shackled young Master Tianwu to the point that he couldn't move. Then, Ji Wuji stomped his foot on young Master Tianwu's head. Young Master Tianwu spat out a mouthful of blood. He struggled under Ji Wuji's feet, but was unable to break free. Ji Wuji said indifferently, "Ants are only qualified to be stepped on by me." Young Master Tianwu was already severely injured. Now that he was being humiliated by Ji Wuji, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. What an arrogant Ji-Wuji! Qing Yu let out a wild roar and unleashed his innate special ability. He charged towards Ji-Wuji with a monstrous demonic aura. Bai Ling and the dead king also attacked together. Ji-Wuji's expression turned serious. His primordial spirit burst out from his eyes and formed a terrifying primordial spirit aura that was 100 feet tall. It crushed towards the dead king. Ji-Wuji's second body cultivated the primordial spirit Great Tao. Not only was his primordial spirit extremely powerful, but he was also able to unleash supreme primordial spirit special abilities. The dead king's current strength was comparable to a low-level supreme god. However, his primordial spirit power was far inferior to Ji-Wuji's. Before he could unleash his divine might, his divine aperture felt like it was hit by a mountain flood. He immediately staggered and fell to the ground. Qing Yu opened his mouth and spat out a beam of demonic light. It turned into a whirlwind, and an astonishing divine might that could tear the void apart enveloped Ji-Wuji. Bai Ling also activated the Chaos Ring and charged toward Ji-Wuji with a sweeping momentum. So you are the successor of the Heaven Lord of Chaos. If the Heaven Lord of Chaos dares to go against the Ji people, even he would not be able to escape death. One more little crane like you. Ji-Wuji snorted. His divine body suddenly vibrated in a strange way and quickly turned into nothingness. He turned into a strange, sound-like existence and merged into heaven and earth. Although Qing Yu and Bai Ling's attacks were powerful, they could not hurt the formless sound. Ji-Wuji, who was in the form of sound waves, seemed to have disappeared into thin air. In the next moment, he appeared behind Qing Yu and condensed a palm in the form of sound waves from nothingness. He pressed it against Qing Yu's back. Puff. Qing Yu's demonic Qi defense only managed to divert Ji-Wuji's strange attack slightly. His internal organs were shattered, and even his heart was shattered. Qing Yu screamed in pain and spat out a mouthful of blood with pieces of his internal organs. He fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. Ji-Wuji's figure finally appeared. Brother Qing Yu. Bai Ling's eyes instantly turned red. He had followed Su Fong with Qing Yu all the way until now. They were even closer than siblings. Seeing that Qing Yu was seriously injured, Bai Ling's heart was filled with grief and anger. He activated the Chaos Ring and attacked Ji-Wuji crazily. I heard that Su Fong has 2 big goblin subordinates who are very close to him. If I kill the 2 of you, he will definitely feel very painful, right? A cruel expression appeared on Ji-Wuji's handsome face. He smiled savagely, and his figure flashed. He turned into a sound wave state and ignored Bai Ling's attack. He directly appeared in front of Bai Ling and condensed a palm to grab Bai Ling. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Bai Ling. He stretched out a finger and gently tapped Ji-Wuji's palm. The palm formed by the sound waves was instantly shattered. Ji-Wuji screamed in pain and staggered. He returned from the formless sound wave state to his normal physical state. His face was pale, and his aura was much weaker. It was obvious that he had suffered a great loss. He looked over. He saw a middle-aged man standing in front of Bai Ling. The middle-aged man was not very tall. He had a square face and an unshaven beard. He looked like a poor man. However, his aura was formless. Even with Ji-Wuji's strength, he could not sense his existence. His soulless eyes gave one the terrifying feeling of being trapped in a chaotic void and losing one's consciousness. Ji-Wuji, you knew that she was my disciple, and you still dare to hurt her. Do you really think that you Ji people can do whatever you want? The middle-aged man said lazily. However, there was a natural sense of supreme authority in his tone. Old man, if you came any later, you will have to collect my corpse. Bai Ling said angrily to the middle-aged man. The Lord of Chaos. This middle-aged man who looked down and out was actually Bai Ling's master, the heavenly monarch of chaos. The Lord of Chaos looked at Bai Ling helplessly. Little Crane, you've been running around all day. Now you have suffered a loss, right? Bai Ling said unhappily. This bastard pretty boy hurt my friend and almost killed me. Hurry up and avenge me. Otherwise, you can go find another disciple. My good disciple, don't worry. Since you dare to hurt my disciple, I will definitely make you pay 10 times the price." The Lord of Chaos smiled and comforted Bai Ling. Then, he looked at Ji Wuji and his eyes suddenly became sharp. A shadow shot out from the eyes of the Lord of Heaven of Chaos. It quickly turned into a palm print and crashed down on Ji Wuji. In an instant, Ji Wuji felt that the surrounding heavenly Tao power and the laws of operation of the heavenly Tao had become extremely chaotic. It was as if he was in a chaotic space-time, and it was difficult to use any of his abilities. Just as Ji Wuji was in despair, an ethereal voice came from the void. "Lord of Chaos, it is fine if you are arrogant in other star domains. However, you actually dare to attack our Ji people's genius in the heavenly sound divine world. Don't tell me that there is no one else in the Ji people?" As the voice reverberated, the Lord of Chaos's palm print shattered layer by layer. In the end, it turned into nothingness and the powerful attack disappeared. Ji Lai, the Lord of Chaos's dejected image, was swept away. His fierce and chaotic aura exploded and protected Bai Ling behind him. It was as if he was facing a great enemy. Ji Lai was the third ancestor of the Ji people. His strength surpassed that of a region lord. Furthermore, his attacks were ruthless and domineering. He was a famous peerless expert in the universe. The Lord of Chaos had only recently broken through the shackles of cultivation and reached the level of a region lord. Although the Tao of Chaos he grasped was extremely powerful, he was definitely not a match for Ji Lai. Furthermore, this was the territory of the Ji people. How could the Lord of Chaos not be afraid? Fortunately, Ji Lai's original body did not appear. Instead, he used a supreme ability to display a powerful ability across the boundless void. "Ji Lai, this time, it is your Ji people's disciple who wants to harm my disciple," the Lord of Chaos said in a deep voice. Ji Lai's majestic voice came from the void again. "The Ji people will give you face this time. Take your disciple and leave the heavenly sound divine world. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. If you anger the supreme Ji people, not only you and your disciple, but your chaos divine world will also be destroyed." The Lord of Chaos snorted coldly. However, there was hesitation in his eyes. Bai Ling said anxiously, "Old man, don't tell me you are afraid of the Ji people." The Lord of Chaos smiled bitterly. In the universe, how many people were not afraid of the Ji people? For the sake of the Lord of Chaos, I will spare this little crane. As for the others, Ji Wuji reached out his right hand and grabbed Qin Yu from the ground. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Sun Qi, young Master Tianwu, Bai Holan, Shu Jiayue, and her father were all pulled to Ji Wuji's side. Anyone related to the Su Fong must die. Ji Wuji smiled faintly. His eyes flashed with coldness and cruelty. "Ji Wuji, how dare you?" Bai Ling activated the Chaos Ring again and attacked Ji Wuji. However, she was restrained by the Lord of Chaos's divine aura. Suddenly, Ji Wuji's divine aura changed. The Lord of Chaos' eyebrows also furrowed. He looked at the void in front of him in surprise. In the next moment, the space suddenly fluctuated. A golden rainbow broke through the sky. Chapter 2106. Su Fong. Ji Wuji's eyes narrowed slightly. Immediately after sensing Su Fong's aura, Ji Wuji's eyes shone with astonishment. Second Heaven Supreme God. He has actually advanced to the Second Heaven Supreme God in such a short time. He is Su Fong? The Heavenly Monarch of Chaos sized up Su Fong curiously. Bai Ling replied proudly, "That's right. He is my little brother Su Fong." The Heavenly Monarch of Chaos's eyes shone with a strange light. He has ascended to the myriad worlds for less than 200,000 years and has actually advanced to such a height. Even I, who have reincarnated, am inferior to him. A peerless genius. This child is indeed worthy of the title of a peerless genius. Bai Ling said, "Old man, stop talking nonsense. Later on, you must save my little brother no matter what. Otherwise, don't blame me for not acknowledging you as my master." A layer of sweat seeped out of the Heavenly Monarch of Chaos's forehead. He smiled bitterly and said, "Little Crane, it's not that I don't want to save him. It's just that I am powerless. If you don't save him, I will," Bai Ling said very decisively. Ji Wuji looked at Su Fong and revealed an elegant smile. "You were actually able to survive in the Golden Rainbow King's world. This is truly unbelievable. It seems like this is the will of the heavens. It wants you to die in my hands." Su Fong's divine light swept past Qin Yu, young Master Tian Wu, and the others. Sensing their injuries, his eyes instantly froze. Especially Qin Yu. His heart was shattered, and he was on the verge of death. Such a serious injury had never happened before from a small world to a large world. This caused Su Fong's heart to be filled with fierce, killing intent at this moment. After leaving that desolate small world, Su Fong activated the sky-piercing Rainbow Shuttle and rushed towards Rainbow Void City. Unexpectedly, he was still a step too late. However, it was not too late. Everything could still be salvaged. It was all thanks to his soul core and second soul core being in space that wasn't too far away from Rainbow Void City that his soul core and second soul core had obtained a connection, allowing him to find out about the situation here. And that was why he disregarded everything and urged the heaven-shattering Rainbow Shuttle to rush over here. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Bai Ling hurriedly sent a telepathic message to Su Fong. "Su Fong, leave quickly. The G People's expert, Ji Lai, who attacked you last time, is paying attention to this place right now. He might cross the border at any time to kill you. When that time comes, even you won't be able to escape." Young Master Tian Wu roared, "Su Fong, leave this place." "Leave? Even if you want to leave, you have to kill this clone of Ji Wuji first." Su Fong activated the Heavenly Mystery Life shrinking technique and sensed Ji Lai's gaze from the void. With a disdainful sneer, Su Fong walked step by step towards Ji Wuji. Ji Wuji said, "Su Fong, you finally dare to fight me head-on." Su Fong said mockingly, "If you didn't have Ji Lai's support, what right do you have to fight me with a mere clone? Ant, you dare to look down on me?" Ji Wuji had always considered himself as the #1 prodigy in the myriad of worlds. No one had ever dared to look down on him like this. Being looked down upon by Su Fong, he was instantly shocked and furious. Ji Lai's voice sounded faintly. "Su Fong, I'll give you a chance to fight with the prodigy of my race. I promise that I won't interfere." Su Fong nodded and said, "That's good. I like to see what right you have to be so arrogant in front of me. Go, test his capabilities." Ji Wuji's voice was filled with killing intent. Swoosh, swoosh. Nearly 100 G People's experts and the true gods recruited by the G People, a total of more than 400 people, charged towards Su Fong. Ji Wuji was cautious by nature. Seeing that Su Fong's strength had increased to the level of a second heaven ultimate god and was able to escape from the Golden Rainbow King's treasure, Ji Wuji couldn't help but feel a little afraid. Hence, he sent out the G People and the experts he recruited to test Su Fong's strength. "Are you planning to compete in numbers?" Su Fong smiled coldly. With a wave of his hand, a Xian Guang appeared from his right palm. All the experts and Big Goblin under him were released. The strength of any one of these experts and Big Goblin was naturally nothing in the eyes of experts like Ji Wuji and the Lord of Chaos. However, there were nearly 100,000 of them, and all of them were elites. Judging from their aura, their strength was far stronger than true gods of the same level. They were definitely a powerful force in the myriad of worlds. Su Fong shouted imposingly, "Leave no one alive." "Yes, master." Pan Zong and the other experts cupped their fists and bowed to Su Fong. Then they unleashed their monstrous aura at the same time and charged towards the 400-plus G People and the experts they recruited. The aggressive G People and the experts who recruited them were so scared that their faces turned ashen and their bodies trembled. Wasn't it too much of a bully for 100,000 people to fight against 400 people? How could these G People and the experts they recruited still have any fighting spirit left? They turned around and wanted to escape. "Kill!" Pan Zong shouted angrily. His aura was like a tidal wave and engulfed the 400-plus experts. Instantly, screams of agony could be heard. The 400-plus experts were instantly defeated and suffered heavy casualties. Only a dozen or so experts who were slightly stronger managed to escape by luck. Crushing. This scene was completely crushing. It was powerful and domineering. It was like using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. It was making a mountain out of a molehill. Su Fong wanted to use such a domineering method to ruthlessly counterattack the Ji people. Su Fong, you have finally made me feel a little threatened. Now, you are qualified for me to use my full strength to deal with you. Ji Wuji smiled faintly. He reached out and grabbed Qingyu in his hand. In order to not distract you, I will kill your friend first. This way, you will be able to fight me with all your strength. Ji Wuji, you are only doing this to strengthen my determination to kill you. I will make you regret your actions for eternity. Su Fong's eyes turned even colder. He quickly formed a hand seal, and a wave of time Dao energy spread out. Even if you are powerful, you will not be able to save your friend. Ji Wuji's lips curled up into a disdainful smile. However, at the next moment, a blood-red shadow appeared from the void and pounced towards Ji Wuji's back. Ji Wuji's divine light changed instantly. He no longer cared about Qingyu. His figure flashed and instantly appeared thousands of feet away. Su Fong's blood shadow clone missed its target and disappeared into the void again. Ji Wuji shouted angrily, "Su Fong, I didn't expect you to be so shameless." Before he finished speaking, Su Fong formed a hand seal, and a wave of time, Dao energy enveloped Ji Wuji and his surroundings. The flow of time suddenly slowed down. Time passed in a flash and became as long as a few days. The time Dao energy, 3 autumns in a day. Ji Wuji's divine light changed slightly. The power of time exploded and neutralized Su Fong's time Dao energy. Swoosh! Swoosh! Su Fong waved his hand and summoned 3 giants that were thousands of feet tall. They pounced towards Ji Wuji. They were the 3 chaos giants that Su Fong's second primordial spirit had subdued. Each of the 3 chaos giants had the strength of a lesser ultimate god. Moreover, their physical defenses were extremely strong. Although they were not enough to suppress Ji Wuji, they still caused him a lot of trouble. Su Fong was in the distance and constantly used his divine powers to prevent Ji Wuji from escaping. It seemed like he intended to exhaust Ji Wuji to death. Su Fong, you don't even have the courage to face me directly? Ji Wuji saw through Su Fong's intention and could not help but shout loudly. As you wish. Su Fong's body exploded with popping sounds. Golden electric currents flowed through his body. His body grew crazily and turned into a 1,000-feet-tall giant that looked like a god of war. Ji Wuji, you keep calling me an ant and purposely went to the Blue Dome Starry Domain just to crush my Dao heart. It's time for you to have a taste of what it's like to be crushed like an ant. Su Fong took a step forward and the space trembled under his footsteps. He instantly arrived 1,000 feet away from Ji Wuji. Then his arms suddenly expanded and extended towards Ji Wuji. The giant golden hand that was dozens of feet in size suddenly squeezed towards Ji Wuji. The space was squeezed by a huge force, and there were terrifying vibrations and tearing sounds. An astonishing shackling force was emitted from the palm, making it difficult for Ji Wuji to use his divine powers. Ji Wuji, you have a total of 6 incarnations. The first incarnation was devoured by me. Today, I'll destroy your second incarnation. Next, I'll kill your remaining 4 incarnations one by one and let you experience the pain of being crushed. Su Fong's palm slowly shrank. The majestic pressure caused Ji Wuji's divine body to shatter layer by layer. Blood splattered everywhere, and it was a tragic sight. Su Fong, if you dare to kill Ji Wuji's second incarnation, I'll take your life. The third patriarch of the Ji people, Ji Lai's angry voice came from the void. Do you think I wouldn't dare? Su Fong sneered domineeringly and shrank his palm. You're courting death. A primordial spirit broke through the void and quickly condensed into a yang spirit. It was a lifelike Ji Lai. Ji Lai's yang spirit quickly formed a shocking Dharma seal. The sound of the void vibrated, and the vast and illusory primordial spirit's divine power rushed towards Su Fang's head. Suddenly, a majestic and sacred golden light flashed above Su Fang's head and condensed into 100-foot primordial roll. A mysterious and ancient aura quickly formed a protective divine power that enveloped Su Fang and blocked Ji Lai's primordial spirit attack. The Primordial Chaos Golden Roll. The current Primordial Chaos Golden Roll was 10 times larger than before, and it also had the protective power of a primordial spirit. Ji Lai's primordial spirit attack was also effective. Primordial Chaos Golden Roll. I can finally use you for once. Su Fang seemed to have expected this. The next moment, Su Fang clenched his hand. Third Patriarch, save me. Only then did Ji Wuji panic and shout loudly. However, it was too late. Poof! Ji Wuji's divine body was crushed and blood splattered everywhere. Swoosh! Ji Wuji's primordial spirit shot out from Su Fang's palm and quickly condensed into a yang spirit before pouncing towards Su Fang's glabella. Ji Wuji's clone cultivated the primordial spirit, Great Tao. Although his divine body was shattered and his strength was greatly reduced, his yang spirit was still extremely powerful. Isn't it too easy for you to kill just one of your clones? Su Fang's lips curled into a sinister smile as illusory lightning surged in his eyes. Then, the supreme divine power of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique, the thunder of destiny, exploded from his eyes. It turned out that not only did he want to kill Ji Wuji's clone, but he also wanted to use the thunder of destiny to severely injure Ji Wuji's original body. Chapter 2107. Ji Wuji's first body had been devoured by Su Fang. Now, his second body had also been killed by Su Fang in an extremely domineering manner. Su Fang rapidly recovered from his gigantified state to his normal state under everyone's shocked gazes. Su Fang had already successfully formed 65 yang meridians. Using the gigantified diamond body still consumed a lot of energy, but compared to before, it was already a world of difference. He only looked a little paler. Master is mighty, Pan Zong shouted loudly. The other experts and Big Goblin also cheered excitedly, their voices shaking the heavens. The Heaven Lord of Chaos and the Blazing Sun God, Jeeth, stared intently at the Chaos Golden Roll above Su Fang's head. Their eyes were filled with shock and awe. Brother Qin Yu. Su Fang ignored the Chaos Golden Roll. After keeping the 3 Chaos Giants into his body, he flew to Qin Yu's side. After checking Qin Yu's injuries, Su Fang was instantly enraged. Qin Yu's other injuries aside, the fatal one was his heart. It was almost completely shattered. The heart was the source of all life. Divine beings and big goblins had extremely powerful recovery abilities, but once their hearts were shattered, it was almost impossible to recover. Ji Wuji, I, Su Fang, will make you pay 100-fold for what you did today. Su Fang was shocked and enraged that Qin Yu was on the brink of death. He hurriedly kept Qin Yu in his inner world. At the same time, he extracted a wisp of chaotic chi from the Chaos Pearl and the power of the 9 suns and the life aura in the blood crystal. The life essence in the blood crystal was refined by Su Fang after he killed the golden rock of the heavenly rock divine race. Together with the power of the 9 suns and the chaotic chi, it had a huge effect on recovering life force. Qin Yu's weak aura finally recovered a little. Although he was still very weak, he was temporarily free from the danger of death. Su Fang heaved a sigh of relief, but he did not dare to be careless. He used the Great Tao of Time to seal Qin Yu's injuries to prevent them from worsening. After pondering for a moment, Su Fang thought to himself, if I want Qin Yu to recover completely, I can only ask Senior Sheng Wuji for help. He cultivates in the Grand Tao of Life, so it shouldn't be difficult for him to help Qin Yu recover. Next, Su Fang distributed the pills to Sun Qi, Young Master Tianwu, Bai Holan, and the others. These were not ordinary pills, but spirit liquid diluted from the Saint Good Fortune pill. This was the last Saint Good Fortune pill that Su Fang had. At the same time, The chaotic chi within the Chaos Essence Pearl was also removed. Each of them received a strand of chaotic chi, which was not much to begin with, and now it was completely used up. Even the undead king was heavily injured. He was taken into Su Fang's inner world and given a blood crystal to heal his injuries. This time, the subordinates that Su Fang had left behind in the Rainbow Desolate City could be said to have suffered heavy losses. Fortunately, there were no deaths. "Big brother Fang Yu," Shu Jiayue called out timidly. Her eyes were filled with reverence. Clearly, the scene of Su Fang killing Ji Wuji's clone had a strong impact on her. Shu Jiayue's father also cupped his fists and bowed. However, Su Fang swept out a divine aura and stopped him. "I'll tell you later, Ji people." Su Fang looked at Ji Liang's sun god with flames burning in his eyes. This time, it was far from enough to kill just one of Ji Wuji's clones. He had to make the Ji people pay an even heavier price. Ji Liang's sun god slowly flew over. Looking at the Chaos Essence golden roll that had yet to disappear above Su Fang's head, Ji Liang cupped his fists and bowed. "May I know who is guarding the Chaos Essence golden roll? Please show yourself." On the Chaos Essence golden roll, a golden light flashed and condensed into the figure of a young man. This young man looked to be in his 20s. His hair was disheveled and his appearance was very ordinary. There was a strange silver lightning pattern between his eyebrows. However, when this extremely ordinary young man appeared, everyone, including Ji Liang and the Heavenly Lord of Chaos, felt their minds explode the moment they saw him. It was as if 100,000 thunderbolts had exploded in their heads at the same time. Their bodies instantly turned cold. Their divine energy and primordial spirits stopped circulating. Their breathing quickened, and they couldn't help but bow down to this figure. Su Fang was below the Chaos Essence Golden Roll, and was protected by the divine aura of the Chaos Essence Golden Roll. He wasn't affected by this young man. The others all knelt down and bowed as if they were bowing down to Su Fang. However, Su Fang also sensed this person's aura. His heart was instantly in turmoil. Who is this person? His strength is definitely not something I can estimate. He must be able to surpass the Azure Flame Sea. Ji Sen, do you dare to violate the iron rules set by all the supreme beings in the universe and attack a peerless genius on the Chaos Essence Golden Roll? The young man said indifferently. His casual tone was like a bolt of thunderbolt that struck Ji Lai. His yang spirit immediately trembled and his primordial spirit collapsed. I didn't know that the guardian of the Chaos Essence Golden Roll was Emperor Sangxiu. Please forgive me, Ji Lai's yang spirit said in a trembling voice. Emperor Sangxiu. Hearing this name, the others didn't feel anything unusual. However, the Heavenly Lord of Chaos's body trembled. The reverence in his eyes became even stronger. Su Fang secretly transmitted his thoughts to the Golden Rainbow King. Golden Rainbow King, what kind of existence is Emperor Sangxiu? He seems to be very powerful. It's not just very powerful. Emperor Sangxiu is directly the ruler of the universe. The extremely arrogant Golden Rainbow King was also in awe of Emperor Sangxiu. He didn't dare to show the slightest disrespect in the voice of his primordial spirit. When you reach the level of a territorial lord, you will know that in the universe, above the territorial lord is the Master God. This Ji people's third ancestor, Ji Lai, belongs to this level. Above the Master God is the supreme Emperor Sangxiu. Except for a few supreme existences in the ancient God world, Emperor Sangxiu is already the top existence in the entire God world. Excluding the ancient God world, there are only 13 Emperor Sangxiu in the universe. Each of them has the terrifying strength to easily destroy a star area and even control the heavenly way. Emperor Sangxiu is one of the 13 great emperors in the universe. I didn't expect him to personally protect you. Boy, I don't know what kind of great luck you have. The Golden Rainbow King's words made Su Fang understand what kind of existence Emperor Sangxiu was. While he was shocked, he was also ecstatic. Su Fang's performance in the Divine Child battle in the Azure Dome Star area is very admirable. Therefore, I have personally protected him. If any expert above the territorial lord attacks him, I will take it as a provocation. No matter which force or expert you are from, I will kill you. Emperor Sangqiu's tone suddenly became fierce, and his eyes glanced at Ji Lai's sun spirit. Ji Lai's sun spirit suddenly shattered and turned into nothingness. Su Fong was shocked again. A look is enough to make the world collapse. A thought is the will of the heavenly way. This is the supreme Emperor Sangqiu. Whoosh, a figure broke through the air. It was Ji Lai, but this time was not his sun spirit, but his true body. Ji Lai knelt respectfully. Emperor Sangqiu, please calm down. After killing one of Ji Lai's sun spirits, he had personally come to apologize. And Emperor Sangqiu was so domineering. A peerless expert like the territorial lord was as obedient as a dog in front of an Emperor Sangqiu. Seeing this scene, Su Fong's blood boiled and he was fascinated. Emperor Sangqiu no longer paid attention to Ji Lai and looked at Su Fong. Your aptitude is really extraordinary. Don't let it down. With me personally protecting you, you don't have to worry about peerless experts targeting you. However, there are some risks that you have to face yourself. Don't rely on me for everything. Thank you, Emperor Sangqiu. Su Fong hurriedly bowed deeply to the shadow on the primordial chaos golden list. Then, Su Fong could not help but ask, Emperor Sangqiu, do experts above the territorial lord really not dare to attack me? No one has ever dared to question my words. Emperor Sangqiu smiled faintly. Come to Yuan Tiangong and focus on improving your cultivation. Immediately, the shadow burst into golden Xianguang and disappeared into the primordial chaos golden list. The primordial chaos golden list also disappeared into nothingness. Ji Lai heaved a long sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. If Emperor Sangqiu had really disregarded his status and killed him, it would have been as easy as killing an ant. The Ji people would not have dared to even fart. Ji Lai glared fiercely at Su Fong and was about to leave. At this moment, Su Fong suddenly said, Emperor Sangqiu, please wait. In the Blue Dome Divine Realm, I once told you that I would make a trip to the Ji people within 1,000,000 years to settle things with the Ji people. Now, I feel that 1,000,000 years is too long. I've decided to visit the Ji people in the near future. Ji Lai was so angry that he laughed. Su Fong, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have Emperor Sangqiu's support. The primordial chaos golden list will only protect you if you are attacked by experts above the territorial lord level. Even if the Ji people do not send experts above the territorial lord level, there are plenty of people who can kill you. Then, Emperor Sangqiu does not need to worry. Then, Su Fong snorted inexplicably. Emperor Sangqiu, before I leave, I have prepared a small gift for you. Please do not dislike it and take it with you. Su Fong, are you trying to provoke me? Ji Lai said angrily. Suddenly, a figure leaped towards Su Fong. Su Fong, how dare you be rude to the Ji people's third forefather? How can I tolerate this? Jiang. Jiang had not appeared since Ji Wuji made his move. Jiang had not expected him to suddenly appear now. Jiang, there is no point in being entangled with me. Return to the Ji people with me. Ji Lai raised his white eyebrows and waved his hand to release a wave of divine might, which sucked Jiang into the space within his body. Then, Ji Lai stepped into the void and was about to leave. However, at this moment, Su Fong suddenly said, Emperor Sangqiu, have a safe journey. Su Fong, you despicable brat. I will definitely kill you. Ah! Before he finished speaking, Ji Lai's divine light changed instantly. Then a muffled sound came from his body. It was as if a shocking thunder had exploded in his body. A huge hole appeared in Ji Yang's abdomen. Blood and internal organs spurted out, and cracks appeared all over his body. Chapter 2108. The surrounding space also shook violently. Ji Lai, who was in the middle of escaping, was hit by the power of space. It was one disaster after another. He was sucked into the chaotic space current and disappeared without a trace. Ji Lai was extremely powerful, but he was now in a severely injured state. Even if he didn't die, he would lose a layer of skin after being sucked into the void turbulence. It was such a shocking scene. Everyone was dumbfounded. The Lord of Chaos was also surprised and shocked. He looked at Su Fong in shock. A peerless expert that surpassed a region lord had actually been heavily injured for no rhyme or reason. How inconceivable was this? Many of his subordinates looked at Su Fong with eyes full of respect and disbelief. At this moment, they were shocked by Su Fong. Swoosh! A black Xian Guang broke through the air and entered Su Fong's divine aperture from between his eyebrows. It was his second primordial spirit. This was the gift that Su Fong had carefully prepared for Jiang. It turned out that his second primordial spirit had already possessed Jiang, but he couldn't bear it. Su Fong had planned to wait for Ji Lai to appear. Even if he couldn't injure him, he could use the sky-piercing Rainbow Shuttle to take everyone out of Rainbow Wilderness City. He didn't expect Sovereign Sang Qiu to suddenly appear and intimidate Ji Lai, giving Ji Ong no chance to use him. Since he had carefully prepared this gift, Su Fong naturally had to give it away. Therefore, before Ji Lai left, he gave him a big surprise. Ji Ong was taken into Ji Lai's divine aperture. Ji Lai was caught off guard and wouldn't shackle him. Ji Ong suddenly self-destructed his cultivation and divine body. At the same time, he also detonated the talisman he had prepared. This made Ji Lai, a peerless expert who had surpassed a region lord, very unlucky. It wasn't just Ji Lai. Su Fong had also prepared a big gift for Ji Wuji. When he used the Thunder of Destiny to kill Ji Wuji's second body, he had already given it away. Su Fong had already noticed the Lord of Chaos with Bai Ling. It was only now that he had the chance to carefully size him up. Sensing the aura of the Lord of Heaven Chaos, Su Fong was shocked and immediately understood the identity of the Lord of Heaven Chaos. He flew forward and cupped his fist politely. Greetings to the Lord of Heaven Chaos. If it wasn't for the Heaven Monarch of Chaos, Bai Ling wouldn't have been able to reach his current height. Therefore, Su Fong was very grateful to the Heaven Monarch of Chaos and was very polite to him. Su Fong, I've heard of your name a long time ago, but I've only gotten one today. TSK, amazing, truly extraordinary. The Lord of Heaven of Chaos praised and looked at Su Fong with eyes full of admiration. Moreover, there was a hint of fear in his deep eyes. Su Fong now had Emperor Sang Qiu as his protector. Moreover, his talent, scheming, and methods were all extraordinary. He had killed Ji Wuji and severely injured Ji Lai. His abilities and methods could be said to be unfathomable. Even a peerless expert like the Heavenly Monarch of Chaos was wary of him. If they offended him, who would be able to bear it if he did something like what he did to Ji Lai? Furthermore, they couldn't attack him. Who would dare to provoke such a person? Thinking about how he was worried about the Ji people's revenge and couldn't save Qin Yu, young Master Tianwu, and the rest, the Heavenly Monarch of Chaos felt ashamed. At the same time, he was worried that Su Fong would bear a grudge. He apologized to Su Fong and said, I was also powerless about what happened just now. I hope you don't take offense. What do you mean by powerless? You're clearly a coward, Bai Ling said angrily. Clearly, she was still brooding over the fact that the Heaven Monarch of Chaos didn't save them. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. I'm already very grateful that the Heavenly Monarch of Chaos can protect Sister Bai. There's no need for the Heavenly Monarch of Chaos to feel ashamed over this matter. It was already not easy for the Heaven Monarch of Chaos to appear at the critical moment and save Bai Ling, Qin Yu, and the rest were unrelated to him. Even if he didn't save them, it was perfectly normal. How could Su Fong blame him? The Heaven Monarch of Chaos didn't dare to stay in the heavenly sound divine world for too long. Hence, he quickly left Rainbow Desolate City. However, Bai Ling insisted on staying. The Heaven Monarch of Chaos couldn't do anything to this disciple of his and could only follow her wishes. Before he left her with a large amount of resources. It was rare for a master to go to such an extent. After sending off the Heaven Monarch of Chaos, Su Fong kept all his subordinates into his inner world. He followed Shu Jiayue's father to the cliff where the Shu clan's main bloodline resided. The Shu clan was once a huge cultivation clan in the myriad worlds. When Shu Yunkong was the clan leader, although they had already declined, they still controlled the small world. The main bloodline had more than 100 million people. If the other branches were included, the number of people in the clan would reach 10 billion. At this moment, the Shu clan was being suppressed by the Ji people and had been forced to live in Rainbow Desolate City. The entire Shu clan was only left with about 1 million people. The main bloodline only had about 300,000 people. It could be seen how much they had been bullied by the Ji people. This time, if it wasn't for Su Fong, the Shu clan's main bloodline members, from Shu Jiue's father to the ordinary clansmen, would not be spared. They would either be cruelly suppressed or turned into slaves. Shu Jiue's father gathered all the clansmen. Everyone looked at Su Fong with eyes full of gratitude. Shu Jiue looked at Su Fong with a complicated gaze. Su Fong flew into the sky and cupped his fists towards the Shu clan's clansmen. The Shu clan's clansmen hurriedly returned the greeting, and many others knelt on the ground. Everyone, there's no need to be so polite. We are family. Su Fong released a divine aura. Everyone felt their bodies lighten and were involuntarily lifted up. There's no harm in telling everyone now. My name is Su Fong. My master is Shu Yunkong. Su Fongda shouted loudly. Shu Yunkong, benefactor, is actually ancestor Shu Yunkong's disciple. Our Shu clan's bitter days have finally come to an end. There was a commotion among the crowd. Soon after, there was a burst of exclamations and then thunderous cheers. Shu Jiue's father was stunned for a moment. Then, he suddenly burst into tears. He looked very miserable. After a moment of excitement, the crowd also burst into tears. Su Fong's eyes also became moist. This scene made him think of the family Su clansmen who had been hunted down by the Wu clan. When everyone's emotions gradually calmed down, Su Fong then said loudly, "There's one more thing I want to tell you. Master Shu Yunkong and senior apprentice sister Shu Wanjin are both alive and well. One day, they will lead the Shu clan to become a powerful divine clan in all the realms." Another burst of thunderous cheers shook the heavens. I, Su Fong, promise that I will make the Ji people spit out everything that the Ji people have taken from you. All the oppression and humiliation that the Ji people have given you, I, Su Fong, will return it to the Ji people tenfold. Su Fong's words made the Shu clan clansmen burst into cheers again. Next, Su Fong took out large amounts of pills and resources and distributed them to the Shu clan's main bloodline clansmen. He had almost used up all the resources he had on him. However, he still had a lot of low-grade resources. Now, they came in handy. Then, Su Fong came to the palace where Shu Jiue's father lived. Next, it was time to deal with the Shu clan's branch clansmen. "Big brother Fong Yu? No, Grandmaster." Shu Jiue's voice sounded. "Grandmaster?" Hearing Shu Jiue's address, Su Fong couldn't help but be stunned. Then, he opened the barrier and let Shu Jiue enter the depths of the palace's array formation. Shu Jiue didn't know what was going on. He looked like he wanted to say something, but stopped. Su Fong smiled and said, "Jiue, if you have something to say, just say it. Fong Yu is my alias. In the future, you can call me Big Brother Su Fongda." Shu Jiue gathered his courage and said, "Your friend Sun Shi," he said, "he likes me." Sun Shi, that barbarian, actually likes you? Su Fong was shocked and stunned. If Grandmaster is unhappy, I will immediately reject Sun Shi and let him give up early. Shu Jiue lowered his head. It seemed that he also liked Sun Shi. Sun Shi is a peerless genius. It's a good thing that he likes you. How can I not be happy? Su Fong was confused. Then, he suddenly understood and couldn't help but smile. It turned out that Shu Jiue thought that Su Fong had other thoughts about her. She was worried that Su Fong would be unhappy with her being with Sun Shi. That was why he came to test her. When the two of you get married, just give me a big gift. Sun Shi, that brat, actually tricked you without saying anything. He's not a good person. When the time comes, I must teach him a lesson. Su Fong laughed. Shu Jiue left the palace with a red face. Su Fong peeled off a strand of Yang's spirit and entered his inner world. Qingyu had already woken up. However, He was still very weak, and his breath was weak. Ji Wuji's attack was extremely ruthless. It was lucky that he was still alive. It would be very difficult for him to recover. Su Fang comforted him. "Brother Qingyu, I will take you to the Yuan Tiangong in a few days and ask Senior Sheng Wuji to heal you. Don't worry. We Big Goblin have strong vitality. How can we die so easily?" Although Qingyu was seriously injured, he was still very arrogant. Then he said, "Su Fang, when you become a peerless expert in the world, help me get revenge from the Ji people. There's no need to wait until I become a peerless expert. In a few days, I will get revenge for Brother Qingyu tenfold." Su Fang said domineeringly, "And these dogs of the Ji people, I'll leave them to you." Then, Qingyu forced himself to release a demonic light and pulled out nearly 600,000 members of the Shu clan from his stomach. Another brat? No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, offending the Ji people is a crime punishable by death. Hurry up and let us go. Otherwise, when the experts of the Ji people arrive, you will die without a burial place. Most of these members of the Shu clan were seriously injured by Sun Qi and Qingyu. However, they were confident that they had the support of the Ji people. They were all unyielding and threatened Su Fang. In their hearts, the Ji people were the heavens and no one could go against them. As long as they climbed up the big tree that was the Ji people, no one would dare to touch them. A bunch of unrepentant dogs. You deserve to die. Su Fang smiled coldly. With a thought, he pulled all the members of the Shu clan into the depths of his inner world. In his inner world, Su Fang was the heavenly Tao. These members of the Shu clan could not resist at all. They were just a bunch of pigs and sheep waiting to be slaughtered. You have sided with the Ji people and betrayed the Shu clan. You are worse than pigs and dogs. Living in this world is meaningless. However, you are not completely useless. Chapter 2109. Evil Cultivator. This person is actually an evil cultivator. If you dare to kill us, the Supreme Ji people will pull out your tendons and skin you alive. Spare us. We're willing to submit to you and become your slaves. Enveloped by the yellow spring blood dome, the Shu clan members were terrified. Some threatened while others begged for mercy. Curses and cries resounded throughout the entire heaven fall yellow spring world. Poof, 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 poof. Under the divine power of the heaven fall yellow spring, some of the Shu clan members' blood chi and bloodlines were directly stripped from their bodies. This was the terror of the heaven fall yellow spring. When cultivated to a certain level, one could devour the enemy's blood chi, bloodline, and soul. When the other Shu clan members saw this scene, they were scared out of their wits. Curses, threats, cries, and pleas rose and fell one after another. Sizzle. Regardless of whether it was a threat or a plea for mercy, Su Fang remained motionless. He condensed a physical body in the blood and watched this scene coldly. The blood water roared and the blood clouds rolled in the blood dome. The Shu clan members were swallowed by the blood water. Their life, chi, and cultivation all fell into the cycle of reincarnation. As time passed, the yellow spring blood dome gradually quieted down. Only the corroded corpses could be seen rolling in the blood water that burned with the flames of life. The Shu clan members' cultivation was not very high. The highest was only a middle-level divine emperor. Most were true immortals. However, there were many of them. There were nearly 600,000 of them. The accumulation of their divine essence and life essence was extremely shocking. The cultivation of these people all helped Su Fang and became resources for Su Fang to increase his cultivation. The blood chi and bloodlines that contained life essence were condensed by Su Fang into a blood ball that floated between the yellow spring blood sea and the heaven fall blood dome. You're dead, but your soul still lingers. Su Fang's primordial spirit saw many black shadows floating in the heaven fall blood dome world, filled with evil chi. These black shadows could only be seen by primordial spirits. They were formed by the resentment of the Shu clan members that Su Fang had devoured. They had evil thoughts and wanted to devour Su Fang's primordial spirit. If an ordinary true god were to kill so many living beings at once. Just the evil intent contained in these black shadows would cause them to fall into the devil Tao, and in the worst-case scenario, their yuan spirit and consciousness would be seized. But Su Fang was not an ordinary god. Pure yang divine essence, refined. Suddenly, a shocking 9 yang divine fire emerged from the blood. It contained the divine yang might. Q8ZBSB. This kind of extreme yang divine aura had a fatal restraining effect on any kind of evil aura or thoughts. Once the divine aura was released by Su Fang, it was like a blazing sun shining on a snowy ground. All the black shadows started to burn with a chi-chi-chi sound and were quickly incinerated into nothingness. They were unable to affect Su Fang's consciousness in any way. About 100 years later, the ball of blood in the center of the Heavenfall Blood Dome had grown to 30 meters in size. It was filled with the blood chi and bloodline of the Shu clan members, exuding boundless vitality. After devouring more than 500,000 gods, Su Fang's divine palace was filled to the brim with divine essence. He had risen from the normal second heaven divine realm to the peak. As long as Su Fang was willing, he could ascend to the third heaven divine realm at any time. However, Su Fang resisted the urge to ascend and temporarily sealed his divine palace. There were more important things to do. He opened his mouth and sucked the Heavenfall Blood Dome and Blood Sea into his body. Then, his body disappeared from his inner world, leaving behind a yang divine essence that appeared on the substance that sealed Shu Yunkong. Z Satin. Su Fang nodded when he saw Z Satin, who had been guarding Shu Yunkong. Young master, Z Satin had ascended to the true god realm long ago, but she was only at the first heaven of the true god realm. She was originally Shu Yunkong's maidservant. She was already satisfied to be able to guard Shu Yunkong. Moreover, how many people in the great world could become gods? Stand down. Su Fang's yang divine essence swept out with a wave of his hand and moved Z Satin to the side. Master, you tricked me. Su Fang smiled bitterly as he looked at the sealed Shu Yunkong. In the great world, Shu Yunkong had sacrificed himself to save Su Fang. In the end, he had been seriously injured and had been forced to seal himself with the great Tao of time. He had been only a hair's breadth away from death. Back then, Shu Yunkong had told Su Fang that as long as Su Fang cultivated the great Tao of time to the extreme and had the strength of a great world's realm lord, he could be saved. Su Fang had believed him and had always made saving his master's life a goal. As Su Fang's strength rapidly increased, Su Fang gradually understood that Shu Yunkong's injuries were incurable. He had only said those words to set a goal for Su Fang. Back then, Shu Yunkong would never have imagined that not only had Su Fang ascended to the myriad worlds, but he had also rapidly ascended to the divine venerate realm in less than 200,000 years. Moreover, he possessed the astonishing strength to kill a realm lord of a great world. He had long surpassed Shu Yunkong. Su Fang had also once planned to create an undying samsara world in his inner world to save Shu Yunkong's life. But this kind of resurrection meant that Shu Yunkong would only be able to survive in his inner world. It would not be a true resurrection. Master, I promised back then that I would bring you back to life, and I will definitely do it. I will not allow the tragedy that befell grandfather to happen to you. He thought of the inner demon left in his heart by his grandfather's death in the disillusionment execution mirror. Su Fang's eyes flashed with determination when he thought of how Shu Yunkong had not hesitated to die for him. Then he sat down cross-legged not far from Shu Yunkong. Wisps of blood chi gathered around his yang spirit and quickly condensed into a physical Su Fang. After reaching the 7th transformation of the 9 suns, Su Fang's inner world had also undergone a transformation. He could now condense his true body in his inner world at will. Purple Chi Dharma Spirit, Supreme Fortune. Su Fang said majestically. Wisps of mysterious purple chi drilled into the void and seeped into Shu Yunkong's body. The purple Chi Dharma Spirit had merged with Su Fang's inner world. The fortune it brought to Shu Yunkong was extraordinary. It was a kind of heavenly Tao fortune. Next, Su Fang's mind moved, and a huge ball of blood appeared in front of him. He quickly formed a seal and used the great Tao of time to peel off the seal on Shu Yunkong's body bit by bit. Finally, he completely removed it. As soon as the seal was removed, Shu Yunkong's life aura, which was like gossamer, began to fade. His body was quickly enveloped by a layer of death qi. Yin-yang transformation, creation of heaven and earth. Su Fang quickly formed a shocking seal. This seal seemed to contain everything in his inner world. It condensed a supreme power of creation from his inner world and immediately enveloped Shu Yunkong's body. Although Su Fang's inner world could not be compared to the real universe, it was still an independent universe. At this moment, he used the yin-yang transformation to gather the creation of heaven and earth in his inner world into Shu Yunkong's body. It immediately prevented Shu Yunkong's death. In the next moment, Su Fang's mind wrapped around the ball of blood in front of him. He peeled off wisps of blood qi and blood and injected them into Shu Yunkong's body. These wisps of blood qi and blood were the reason why Su Fang dared to try and save Shu Yunkong. Su Fang had tried before to use his life essence to help Shu Yunkong recover his life. Unfortunately, it ended in failure. The reason was very simple. In Shu Yunkong's current state, he was unable to use his great Tao and could not fuse with other energy. But these wisps of blood qi and blood were different. They all came from the Shu clan and were of the same origin as Shu Yunkong. They could be absorbed and fused with by Shu Yunkong. This was why Su Fang had told Qingyu to spare the lives of the Shu clan when he left Rainbow Desolation City. At that time, he had a plan in mind to use the life aura of the Shu clan to save Shu Yunkong. It's far from enough. As Su Fang expected, the wisps of blood qi and blood of the Shu clan could be automatically fused with Shu Yunkong's physical body. But the process was very slow. The effect was also very far from Su Fang's expectations. He gritted his teeth. Fate and creation control the heavens. If I want to live, the heavens cannot take it away. My life is mine, not the heavens. Heaven's secret life, shrinking art, reverse fate. Su Fang silently chanted the mysterious words of the heaven's secret life, shrinking art in his mind. A shocking desire to defy the heavens and change fate surged from his body. A supreme power of fate that could change fate exploded from Su Fang's body and enveloped Shu Yunkong. In an instant, the ethereal power of fate caused the wisps of blood qi and blood that had seeped into Shu Yunkong's body to rapidly fuse with his physical body. His life aura that had almost become ethereal rose at an astonishing speed and finally turned into a surging presence that engulfed his entire body. Su Fang's eyes were bloodshot as he stared unblinkingly at Shu Yunkong. This time, he had used almost all of his strength. He had used the yin-yang transformation, the heaven's secret life shrinking art, and the ability of the purple qi spirit to change the fate of others. One could imagine how much energy he had expended. The physical body that he had formed in his inner world was on the verge of collapse. His life aura had withered and his face had aged. He had become an old man over 70 years old. The amount of life energy he had expended was almost at the limit of what he could bear. More than half of the power of yin and yang in his inner world had also been expended. However, he showed no signs of regret. His eyes were filled with nervousness and anticipation. It was not just Su Fang. In his inner world, there were two pairs of ethereal eyes that were staring at Shu Yunkong. Father, how fortunate are you to have Su Fang as your disciple? One of the pairs of eyes that was staring at Shu Yunkong was Shu Wanjin. This brat is simply a lunatic. In order to save his master, he would even throw away his life. No, this seat will take this disciple. Such a filial disciple. He cannot be allowed to escape from this seat's hands. The other pair of eyes belonged to the Golden Rainbow King. His inner world had been absorbed into Su Fang's inner world. Naturally, he could sense the movements in Su Fang's inner world. Time slowly passed. Chapter 21:10. Shu Yunkong was originally bound to die without a doubt. Losing his life was only a matter of time. He He did not expect that Su Fong actually reversed his fate and forcefully pulled Shu Yunkong, who had one foot in the gates of hell, back. Such means were truly heaven-defying. Su Fong, you actually saved your master's life? You actually really did it? How did you do it? Shu Yunkong stood up, looked at Su Fong, and then carefully examined himself, and was immediately dumbfounded. Master! Su Fong looked at Shu Yunkong, his heart also surging with emotions for a moment. Apart from feeling excited for Shu Yunkong's resurrection, it was also because of reversing Shu Yunkong's fate that gave birth to a powerful self-confidence. Following that, Su Fong narrated to Shu Yunkong the matter of Shu Yunkong ascending from the great world to the myriad worlds after sealing himself. Shu Yunkong fell into intense shock and could not speak for a long time. Looking at Su Fong, his eyes were full of gratification, but also rueful and emotional. Sovereign, Z Satin came in front of Shu Yunkong, tears streaming down her face. Shu Yunkong was touched again. His gaze when looking at Z Satin became very gentle. Furthermore, Su Fong even saw some peculiar things. Su Fong secretly said, "Looks like I'm going to have a master's wife soon." At this time, a golden rainbow flashed, condensing into the lifelike shadow of the Golden Rainbow King. Old fellow, congratulations on coming back to life again. The two of us have a good disciple. This is Su Fong. You acknowledged another master? Shu Yunkong sensed the Golden Rainbow King's essence spirit and was immediately taken aback. Su Fong said, "Master, don't pay attention to this old fellow. This person is despicable and shameless, and also guards wealth like his life. What qualifications does he have to be my master?" The Golden Rainbow King was very embarrassed, no longer having that arrogance and domineering aura from before. When Shu Yunkong figured out the Golden Rainbow King's origins, he was incomparably shocked once more. The era of the Golden Rainbow King's existence was far earlier than Shu Yunkong's. Shu Yunkong naturally knew of the Golden Rainbow King's illustrious reputation. Who would have thought that Su Fong would actually obtain all of the Golden Rainbow King's shattered worlds? What was even more bizarre was that the Golden Rainbow King, the peerless powerhouse who roamed unhindered throughout the heavens, actually had the cheek to accept Su Fong as his disciple. Yet, Su Fong had a reluctant look on his face. This disciple of mine is truly not an ordinary person. Shu Yunkong sighed emotionally in his heart. The Golden Rainbow Monarch cupped his fists and said, "Brother, you haven't fully recovered yet. Why don't you come and stay in my world? I don't have anything else, but I have all kinds of medicinal pills and spiritual items. I guarantee that you'll be able to recover to your original state in a short period of time, and even raise your cultivation by a few levels." Su Fong was immediately stunned. He did not expect that Jin Hong King actually had designs on Shu Yunkong. "Many thanks, Senior." Shu Yunkong gladly agreed. The Golden Rainbow King was very pleased with himself and said to Su Fong, "Boy, you've also exhausted yourself severely. Master will bestow you medicinal pills and spiritual items. Hurry up and go cultivate to recover." Following that, he reached his hand out and grabbed out a storage ring, tossing it to Su Fong. Su Fong seeped his consciousness into the storage ring to take a look and immediately sneered disdainfully, "Just 1,000 superior-grade medicinal pills. The other spiritual items are all some yellow-gray quality." Following that, he continued, "This master of mine, in order to save me back then, he even gave up his own life. But you're so stingy, and you still want to become my Su Fong's master? Forget it. Who asked this seat to be your master?" The Golden Rainbow King gritted his teeth and took out another storage ring. This time, the 1,000 medicinal pills in the storage ring were all peak superior grade. The spiritual items were also exchanged for mystic grade among the Golden Rainbow King's countless treasures. Although the quantity was not considered very astonishing, to the incomparably stingy Golden Rainbow King, it was already considered bleeding heavily. "Not bad. Continue to work hard. Maybe one day, when I'm happy, I'll acknowledge you as my master." Su Fong smiled embarrassedly and unceremoniously kept all the storage rings. The Golden Rainbow King snorted, "Humph, One day, this seat will make you cry and beg to acknowledge me as your master. This seat just doesn't believe that in front of this seat's treasures, there's still a reason for you not to be moved. Shu Yinkong once again broadened his horizons. However, he was even more confused about the relationship between Su Fong and the Golden Rainbow King. Following that, Su Fong sent Shu Yinkong into the Golden Rainbow King's world. Z Satin also accompanied Shu Yinkong. After sending Shu Yinkong away, Su Fong suddenly looked into nothingness. Senior apprentice sister, are you still unwilling to meet master? Wait until I escape from the mystic realm. Shu Wanjin clearly did not want to continue on this topic and coldly responded from the nothingness of her inner world. Su Fong, you handled the matter of the Shu clan very well. You killed decisively, and when it was time to be ruthless, you never showed mercy. You also did not hesitate to sacrifice your life to save your master. You know how to repay kindness. Senior apprentice sister is very gratified. My help to you all these years was not in vain. Su Fong solemnly said, Senior apprentice sister, you and master are both my family. Family. Shu Wanjin silently repeated it a few times and then fell silent. Su Fong's physical body collapsed, and his yang spirit also left his inner world. His main body entered the time cave. Hurry up and recover. This time, in order to save Shu Yinkong, Su Fong paid a heavy price. Most of his vitality was lost, and his energy was exhausted. If it was more serious, he would have to give up. At this time, he had a feeling that his life was coming to an end. He wanted to let go of everything and be free. However, no matter how great the price he paid this time, Su Fong did not have a trace of regret. Instead, he had never felt so confident and open-minded in his heart. This time, Su Fong, went against the heavenly Tao, changed fate, and finally changed Master's fate. I also have the ability to change the fate of my family, friends, and myself, and survive in this calamity. What was the point of constantly trying to raise his cultivation? Other than proving himself, wasn't another important goal to protect his family and friends? If he could revive Master, it was worth it no matter how great the price he paid. Su Fong felt very tired, so he did not think too much about it. He focused on recovering. At this time, he could not even transform into the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. He could only let the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda absorb the junior commander's power. After fusing with it, the energy flowed into his body. Then, Su Fong continuously absorbed the vitality of the Shu clan's blood, and the blood balls condensed from their blood. The Shu clan's branch had more than 500,000 clansmen. To revive Shu Yinkong, he used less than 1/10 of the vitality of the blood balls. After all, Shu Yinkong's strength was only equivalent to that of a small world's realm lord. Then, Su Fong activated all kinds of recovery true forms and divine abilities. He devoured all kinds of energy, activated the power of the 9 suns, and stimulated countless life cells. He continuously burned the vitality of his blood, and his life rapidly recovered and strengthened. About 1,000 years passed in the time cavern. The consumed vitality and various kinds of energy finally recovered about 50 to 60%. The consumption this time was really too severe. Even his divine dwellings and meridians had withered and dried up. If not for his 65 yang meridians, he would have died long ago. To be able to recover to this extent in 1,000 years was already an incomparably heaven-defying matter. It was also thanks to the resources given by the Jinhong monarch. Otherwise, Su Fong would not have recovered so quickly. After recovering about 50 to 60%, Su Fong began to use the blue sky's yellow springs, madly devouring the vitality of the blood balls, as well as the pills and resources given by the Jinhong monarch. At the same time, Su Fong also distributed all kinds of resources in the storage rings of the Shu clan's members to his subordinates. It was impossible for Su Fong to devour all the blood balls condensed from the life essence of the Shu clan's members. He gave a portion to Bai Ling and Qing Yu, and the other big goblin did not miss a single one. Apart from devouring the remaining half of the blood balls, Su Fong gave a lot to Gue Gue. The rest were condensed into blood crystals, and he would take them out when he needed them in the future. This state settled for more than 100 years. Su Fong finally recovered to his peak state. Not only the energy in his body, but also his vitality. He finally got rid of that powerless state. Chi. Just as he breathed a sigh of relief, a huge commotion erupted from his body, followed by a burst of tribulation chi. Third heaven, divine, venerable. I've risen another level so quickly. Su Fong snorted in his heart. He was pleasantly surprised and immediately flew out of the time cavern. Under the repeated attacks, the tribulation fire burned wildly with a huff sound. The nine-yang divine fire burned in the form of a fire cloud. Soon, Su Fong's body began to shatter. The impurities in the placenta continuously surged out and were quickly burned clean by the tribulation fire. He gritted his teeth and finally welcomed the power of advancement to cleanse his marrow. He felt his meridians, bones, and flesh being forcefully torn apart. He wanted to make his body stronger and more perfect, and, at the same time, to become more profound. When the power of advancement subsided, the tribulation fire also gradually extinguished. Su Fong had successfully advanced to the third heaven divine venerable. He had broken through. Su Fong immediately swallowed pills and spiritual items. His body that had just broken through recovered bit by bit. At the same time, Su Fong was also continuously attacking the 66th meridian. The yang meridian was the focus of his cultivation. The birth of an additional yang meridian meant that his strength would undergo another transformation. Grandmaster, this is bad. There's an expert who's about the same level as the G people's third patriarch. He wants to see you. Not long after, Shu Jiayue's voice came from outside. Could it be that the G people still haven't given up and sent another old ancestor expert? Su Fong's heart could not help but tighten. He quickly flew out of the cavern of time and space and arrived outside the palace in a flash. Su Fong, I finally found you. A hearty laugh was heard. Then, a bald old man appeared in a flash. It was Song Yanhai. Unexpectedly, Song Yanhai had personally come to Keihong City. It was a pity that Sheng Wuji did not come. Otherwise, Qing, you could quickly recover from his injuries. Third heaven divine, venerable realm. Song Yanhai sensed Su Fong's aura and immediately changed his expression. It was no wonder that Su Fong was only at the 8th heaven divine emperor realm when he fought for the title of God's child in the Azure Dome Star field. In less than 10,000 years, he had broken through the huge gap between the divine emperor realm and the ultimate God realm, and even reached the 3rd heaven. Such speed could only be described as shocking. Chapter 2111. Su Fong hurried forward to greet him. Greetings, Lord Song Yanhai. No need for formalities. Song Yanhai waved his hand. At this moment, Sun Shi, young Master Tianwu, and Bai Holan also came forward to greet him. Song Yanhai said majestically, during the gods' battle of the Azure Dome Star Field, the world suddenly changed. The land of gods broke free from its shackles and disappeared without a trace. I didn't expect you guys to be able to survive. It's really a blessing in disguise. Looking at Su Fong, Song Yanhai praised him again. Su Fong's strength has increased so much. Clearly, you have obtained great fortune. With such luck, I believe you will definitely be the last person left on the Chaos Golden Ranking. Su Fong said humbly, Thank you, Lord, for your praise. Azure Flame C said, In this Blue Dome Star region's divine sun struggle, Su Fong is worthy of being first place. After becoming the Blue Dome Divine Sun, he will be sent to a holy land called Primordius Heavenly Palace, where he will receive guidance from an unsurpassed powerhouse. Brother Su, congratulations. Young Master Tianwu and Bai Holan cupped their fists and congratulated Su Fong. Their eyes were filled with envy. In the Azure Dome Star Field, the two of them were considered peerless geniuses. However, compared to Su Fong, they paled in comparison. They were completely convinced by Su Fong. Moreover, Su Fong had saved their lives. For Su Fong to win, the two of them were sincere in their congratulations. They were not jealous at all. The difference between them and Su Fong was too great. They did not even have the courage to be jealous. Sun Shi, come with me to Primordius' heavenly palace. Azure Flame Si said to Sun Shi. Yes. Although Sun Shi was born lowly, he was still a peerless genius of Starfield. He had the identity of Starfield's god's son. He had only participated in the god's battle of the Azure Dome Starfield to gain experience. Sensing that Sun Shi's aura was weak and that he had yet to recover from his injuries, Song Yanhai raised his eyebrows and asked in a deep voice, Sun Shi, how did you end up like this? I was defeated by Ji Wuji. Sun Shi smiled bitterly. Soon after, his eyes flashed with a wild light. Sooner or later, I, Sun Shi, will defeat Ji Wuji. Ji people, fear appeared in Song Yanhai's eyes. Then Song Yanhai waved his hand and released a Xiangguang. 3 figures appeared in front of Su Fong. Seeing these 3 figures, Su Fong was pleasantly surprised. Grandpa, Aunt May, Uncle Chong. He did not expect that the Azure Flame Si actually brought Xian Lingzi, Ling Xiangmei, and Count Chong, the 3 people, over. Su Fong, your cultivation. Xian Lingzi found that he could not sense the depth of Su Fong's cultivation, and he was shocked. When Xian Lingzi found out that Su Fong's cultivation had surpassed the Divine Emperor realm and even had the terrifying strength to kill a sector lord of a great world, Xian Lingzi was dumbfounded. While he was shocked, Xian Lingzi thought of his son Mo Shangsong, who was a peerless genius, and that trash Mo Fenghua. He could not help but sigh in his heart. Song Yanhai said, Su Fong, Sun Shi, follow me to Yuan Tiangong. Su Fong cupped his fists and said, I still have some personal matters to deal with. Lord, please tell me the coordinates of Yuan Tiangong. After I'm done with my matters, I will go to Yuan Tiangong myself. Su Fong, Yuan Tiangong is a cultivation holy land created by many peerless experts from all over the universe. It is used to cultivate peerless geniuses to deal with the calamity of heaven and earth, and to select the geniuses to enter the exalted celestial mountain. Almost all the peerless geniuses from all over the universe are gathered in Yuan Tiangong. You are not the most outstanding among them. If you go to Yuan Tiangong first, you will naturally get more benefits. If you have other matters, you should deal with them later. Go to Yuan Tiangong first. Song Yanhai said slowly. He did not understand what Su Fong had to do that was more important than going to Yuan Tiangong. Su Fong cupped his fists and said, I need to go to the Ji people to resolve the old and new grudges between me and the Ji people. If this matter is not resolved, it will be difficult for me to cultivate in Yuan Tiangong. Please forgive me, Lord. You want to go to the Ji people? Song Yanhai raised his white eyebrows. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Xian Lingzi, Sun Shi, and the others were all shocked. They looked at Su Fong in shock. The Ji people were an ancient divine clan that could be ranked in the top 1,000 in the universe. Their power and foundation were so deep that even a peerless expert like Song Yanhai had to be wary of them. The Ji people hated Su Fong to the core. They wanted to pull out his tendons and skin him alive. However, due to the Hunyuan Golden List and the deterrence of Emperor Sangqiu, they did not dare to do anything to Su Fong. Q8 ZBSB. Su Fong was now taking the initiative to go to the Ji people to seek revenge. Not to mention the others. Even Song Yanhai was shocked by Su Fong's bold decision. Su Fong, I know that you have a deep grudge with the Ji people. However, the Ji people are powerful. When it is time to endure, you must endure. In the mortal world, it is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge. You must be patient. Wait until you become a true peerless expert, then think of a way to take revenge. How many peerless geniuses died prematurely because they showed off their abilities? Don't walk on their old path. Song Yanhai tried his best to persuade him. If not for the fact that Su Fong was valued by Emperor Sangqiu, Song Yanhai would not have tried to persuade Su Fong. He would have scoffed at Su Fong's decision, thinking that Su Fong was overestimating himself and was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. It is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Su Fong smiled domineeringly. That is just an excuse for those cowards to find for their weakness. Cultivators should take revenge if they have a grudge. 10 years is too late for revenge. We should kill decisively and seize every moment. Anyone who stands in our way should be killed. Su Fang's voice shocked Song Yinhai, a peerless expert, and he was speechless for a long time. Sun Qi's eyes were filled with shame. The thought of "I'm not as good as Su Fang" surged in his heart. Su Fang continued, "Lord Song Yinhai, I, Su Fang, am not a fool. I will not go to the Ji people and die for nothing. If I enter Primordius Heavenly Palace to cultivate, then if I go to the Ji clan, isn't that also a form of adventure? Fine, do as you wish." Song Yinhai saw that Su Fang was so persistent and did not try to persuade him anymore. However, his expression was still filled with disbelief and helplessness. "Grandfather, I once promised you that I would kill my way into the Ji people and seek justice for Fenghua's parents. This time, I, Su Fang, will fulfill my promise to you." Su Fang shouted loudly at Xian Lingzi. Xian Lingzi hesitated. "Su Fang, isn't it a bit too risky?" "Grandfather, don't worry. You have me." Su Fang's tone was firm as he put Xian Lingzi, Ling Xiangmei, and Count Chong into his inner world. Then, Su Fang asked Shu Jiyue's father, "I'm going to the Ji people and seek justice for the Shu clan. Do you dare to come with me and take a look?" Shu Jiyue's father's eyes were filled with excitement as he shouted, "The Ji people bullied my clan and almost exterminated the Shu clan. Now, Senior Su Fang is going to seek revenge for my Shu clan. If I don't even have the courage to watch, how can I be worthy of being a member of the Shu clan?" Then, Shu Jiayue's father gathered all the Shu clan members. Su Fang used his divine might to put everyone into his inner world from his palm and sent them into the Golden Rainbow King's world. After meeting Shu Yinkong, the Shu clan members were naturally shocked and excited. When Shu Yinkong found out that Su Fang was going to the Ji people to seek revenge, Shu Yinkong was also quite frightened. However, he could not dissuade Su Fang and could not help but be extremely nervous. Song Yinhai gave Su Fang the coordinates of the Yuan Tiangong's location and brought Sun Qi to the Yuan Tiangong first. Young Master Tianwu and Bai Holan also left Rainbow Desolation City and returned to the Azure Dome Star Field. After making his preparations, Su Fang activated the sky-splitting Rainbow Shuttle and headed straight for the main realm of the Heavenly Sound God Realm. Heavenly Sound God Realm. It was a large realm formed by thousands of large realms and was firmly controlled by the Ji people. Its overall strength far exceeded that of an ordinary star field. The main realm of the Heavenly Sound God Realm was actually a huge star. It was surrounded by more than 10 other stars that operated in accordance with the laws of the Heavenly Tao. It formed an incomparably powerful array defense. Even Master God experts who surpassed the Domain Lord would find it difficult to shake the main realm. To enter the main realm star, one had to pass through the array gate in the outer stars and pass through the strict checks of the Ji people's gods. On this day, a golden rainbow tore through the sky and appeared in the void. It was Su Fang who had rushed over from Rainbow Desolation City. Seeing a star not far away, Su Fang flew across the sky and arrived in front of a huge gate. The gate was 1,000 feet tall, majestic, and spectacular. Above the tightly shut gate, there were 108 lifelike pictures of coiling dragons. It was as if divine dragons were sealed within, emitting a sacred and astonishing aura. On the left and right sides of the gate, there were 2 golden light gates. The left gate was 1,000 feet tall, while the right gate was much smaller. It was a small gate that was less than the height of a person. One had to lower their head to enter the gate. The Ji people. Su Fang looked up at the huge gatehouse, a disdainful smile hanging on the corners of his mouth. He looked over. There were gods entering and exiting the 2 gates on the left and right of the gate. The gods entering and exiting the gate on the left were all arrogant and haughty, as if they were superior to others. They clearly had the aura of the Ji people. The small gate on the other side was for non-members of the Ji people to enter and exit. Due to the small size of the gate and the large number of people entering and exiting, it was extremely crowded. Furthermore, One had to lower their heads to enter the gate. The G people had designed such a gate to let the G people feel the prestige of the G people and have no choice but to lower their heads to the G people. Su Fong flew towards the tightly shut gate in the middle. You dare to barge into the heavenly gate of the G people? If you want to enter the main realm of the heavenly sound god realm, you have to go through the small gate on the right. You can enter only after you have checked that there are no errors. This heavenly gate is usually only opened when the higher-ups of the G people enter and exit. No one else is allowed to enter. If you take another step forward, you will be killed without mercy. A master of the G people guarding the gate coldly shouted at Su Fong. Su Fong smiled faintly. I don't want to go through that dog hole. I want to enter through this so-called heavenly gate. Why aren't you guys opening the gate? You're courting death. A master of the G people roared angrily and rushed towards Su Fong. The gods entering and exiting the gate on both sides, whether they were from the G people or other gods, all laughed as they watched this scene. Chapter 21:12. Ninth Heaven Divine Emperor Realm? You could be considered an expert. Su Fong smiled disdainfully. His second sky of ultimate god cultivation suddenly burst out, forming a crushing aura. It was like an exploding mountain flood, attacking the G clan's experts. Plop, the G people's expert, was unable to circulate his divine energy, and Israel was on the verge of collapsing. Under the terrifying aura of a realm higher than him, he could not resist at all and knelt on the ground. Godly venerable realm expert. Sensing Su Fong's powerful aura, the surrounding mocking laughter stopped abruptly, followed by exclamations of surprise. Godly venerable realm experts were considered experts in any divine world, and the heavenly sound divine world was no exception. Su Fong had only released his godly venerable realm aura, and it had immediately intimidated everyone. There were more than 100 G people's experts guarding the G people's heavenly gate. The strongest among them was only at the peak of the ninth heaven divine emperor realm. Seeing how powerful Su Fong was, no one dared to step forward. However, these G people's experts were incomparably arrogant. They angrily rebuked Su Fong, and some were prepared to warn him. Whoosh, a tall figure flew out from the door on the left. It was a young man in his 30s. His aura was very faint, and he was also a godly venerable realm expert. However, his cultivation was slightly lower than Su Fong's. He was only at the first heaven of divine venerable realm, and his aura was slightly unstable. It was obvious that he had just advanced and had accumulated a lot of resources. Young Master Ji Ruxu is here. There's no need to alert the experts in our clan. With young Master Ji Ruxu here, let's see how this brat can still be arrogant. This brat must have taken the wrong medicine to dare to cause trouble in the G people's heavenly gate. He's really reckless. The G people's experts guarding the heavenly gate all heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Su Fong arrogantly. Those G people's experts who were prepared to warn him also gave up on the idea. This young master's luck is not bad. It has been many years since someone dared to cause trouble in the G people's heavenly gate. Suppressing you would at least be a small achievement. The young G people, named Jiru Su, understood the situation and immediately chuckled, looking quite excited. The way he looked at Su Fong was not like looking at a living person, but a contribution, a pig, or a sheep. Then, Ji Ruxu coldly shouted at Su Fong, "Kid, you don't have to report your name. You just need to remember my name." Ji Ruxu, ranked 96th on the G family list. Jizi Bang. Su Fong was stunned. Soon after, he asked in surprise, "The so-called G-child ranking is presumably the genius ranking of the G people. May I know Ji Wuji's ranking on the G-child ranking?" Ji Ru Su's voice thundered. "How can an ant like you call a young master limitless by his name? He is naturally number 1 on our clan season child list, and no one can replace him." "I see." Su Fong smiled awkwardly. In the land of the resting gods, he had devoured Ji Wuji's first body. Not long ago, he had killed Ji Wuji's second body in Rainbow Desolation City. This Jiru Su was only ranked 96th on the G People's season child ranking. Why would Su Fong care about him? Seeing the disdain in Su Fang's eyes, Jiru Su flew into a rage. Insignificant ant, how dare you be disrespectful to young Master Limitless? You deserve death. Jiru Su's aura exploded, and a torrent of energy containing the water Dao law surged toward Su Fang. Young Master Jiru Su is indeed a peerless genius ranked in the top 100 of the G-Child ranking. His strength is enough to suppress an ordinary third heaven ultimate god. Young Master Jiru Su is personally taking action. This kid is dead for sure. The experts of the G people and the surrounding true gods all cheered loudly. Su Fang sneered domineeringly. Not only did he not retreat, but he met Jiru Su's attack head-on. He used his movement technique, Earth Ripple Stomp, and borrowed the power of the earth to rush towards Jiru Su. Earth Ripple Stomp was a very ordinary movement technique. However, Su Fang had grasped the essence of the Earth Dao Law. Even the most ordinary divine ability became extraordinary as he instantly passed through the torrent of energy. With Su Fang's powerful divine body, Jiru Su's aura did not cause any harm to him. Su Fang appeared close to Jiru Su and directly punched out. He didn't use any divine ability, nor did he operate divine essence. Instead, he used the power of the great perfection fleshly body to forcefully and domineeringly bombard Jiru Su's chest. Boom! Q8 ZBSB. The punch shattered Jiru Su's aura field and blasted a hole in his chest. His body was sent flying and crashed into a group of G People's experts before heavily crashing into the heavenly gate with a loud bang. Jiru Su spat out a mouthful of blood and fell limply to the ground like a dead dog. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Gasps could be heard from the surroundings. The G People's heavenly gate instantly fell into a dead silence. Without using any divine ability, just the strength of his physical body was able to suppress a G People's sun-rolled genius with a single punch. What kind of terrifying divine body was this? Su Fang quickly formed a seal with his hands. Then his fingertips turned into a void as the Xian Guang flickered. The aura of the great Dao permeated the air and quickly condensed into the word battle that was 3 meters in size. Go! The word Xian Guang left his hand and landed on the heavenly gate. It was forcefully imprinted on the surface and emitted a blinding light. I challenge all the G People's experts to penetrate the heavenly sound divine realm's main realm. Su Fang's domineering voice was released with divine might and reverberated in all directions. The G People's experts and other gods around the heavenly gate were all dumbfounded. The same thought appeared in everyone's mind at the same time. This person is a lunatic. He actually wants to challenge the entire G People with his strength alone. Following that, the G People's experts roared in unison. More than 100 experts charged aggressively at Su Fang. They knew that they were no match for Su Fang. However, if they did not take action after being challenged to the heavenly gate, it would be intolerable according to their clan's rules. Scram! A burst of divine might of flames exploded. Astonishing flames surged. More than 100 G People's experts, who were charging at the front, were burned into charcoal. Those at the back were also burned until their flesh was torn apart. Su Fang went straight for the center of the heavenly gate. At this moment, Su Fang had come to seek revenge. Naturally, he would not use the side door. Instead, he wanted to kill his way into the G People openly. Roar! 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 The 108 divine dragon patterns on the heavenly gate suddenly came to life. They let out earth-shattering roars. The violent divine might of the divine dragons was vast and mighty. It formed a pressure that wanted to crush Su Fang into powder. Following that, 108 divine dragons snaked out from the heavenly gate. Their terrifying dragon aura surged like waves. These 108 divine dragons were shackled by the experts of the G People and sealed on the heavenly gate. They were specially used to guard the heavenly gate. They were the gatekeeping divine beasts of the G People. Each dragon was as strong as a 9th heavenly layer godly emperor. 108 dragons were as strong as 108 ninth heavenly layer godly emperors. Ordinary medium-level supreme gods could be easily crushed by them. Even the heavenly Tao can't suppress me. How dare a bunch of worms try to suppress my will? Su Fong sneered arrogantly. A burst of dragon aura burst out. Su Fong's dragon aura came not only from the dragon's subduing true body, but also from the ancestral dragon armor. As Su Fong's cultivation continued to improve, his perfect realm physical body transformed again and again. The dragon's subduing true body also followed suit. The most terrifying part was the ancestral dragon armor. One should know that the ancestral dragon was the first divine dragon born from the chaos at the beginning of heaven and earth. He was the ancestor of all the divine dragons in the universe. Which divine dragon would not be afraid of his aura? As Su Fong's dragon aura burst out, the 108 divine dragons' ferocious and terrifying faces suddenly became terrified. They trembled and curled up into a ball. At this moment, the powerful mystical dragon had turned into a frightened little snake. This scene was a huge shock to everyone. Everyone was dumbfounded. The arrogant divine dragon clan has been reduced to the point of guarding the G people. What's the use of you living? Su Fong reached out his hand. The blood in his palm surged and spiraled, releasing a powerful, devouring divine might. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Waves of dragon aura and blood aura emerged from the 108 divine dragons. They were continuously devoured by Su Fong. In the face of death, although the 108 divine dragons were terrified and in despair, they did not resist. They obediently allowed Su Fong to devour them. In a short span of a dozen breaths, the 108 divine dragons were sucked dry by Su Fong. They turned into shriveled corpses and were absorbed into Su Fong's body. Blood aura and dragon aura were excellent cultivation resources for Su Fong and his big goblin. The dragon corpses were treasures for refining weapons. Su Fong naturally would not let any of them go to waste. Heaven's Gate break. Su Fong activated the Xian Wang Six Paths Pagoda. He absorbed all the energy of the junior commanders, including the 3 powerful chaos giants, into his natal magic treasure. Then, the natal magic treasure fused with his body, and the junior commander's energy seeped into his flesh. Boom! He punched the Heaven's Gate. It felt as if heaven and earth were shaking. The deafening sound made the surrounding G people's experts and many gods bleed from their 7 orifices. Some were even killed on the spot. Crack, crack, crack. Cracking sounds came from the Heaven's Gate. The array formed by the intertwining heavenly marks was broken. In the end, the entire Heaven's Gate collapsed, revealing a huge spatial array. Master, Grandpa Xianling, Brother Qing Yu. Su Fong used his divine power to let Shu Yunkong, Xianlingzi, Qing Yu, and the big goblin see this scene clearly through his eyes. The G people owe you. Today, I'll collect some interest on your behalf. When I become a peerless expert, I'll definitely exterminate the G people. Su Fong transmitted his thoughts to the people in his inner world. At this moment, Shu Yunkong and Xianlingzi cried. Qing Yu and Bai Ling cheered loudly. The people of the Shu clan, Ling Xiangmei, and Count Chong all felt their blood boiling. Su Fong, how could you not inform me of such a grand event? Shu Wanjin's voice came from the ancient mirror along with a cold aura. Senior sister, defeat the G people? How bold, how delightful. I'll keep an eye on you. Remember, leave Ji Wuji alive. His life is mine. Su Fong understands. Su Fong nodded and was about to step into the spatial array. Defeat the supreme G people? How arrogant. Chapter 21:13. The old man from the G people who had charged out of the passageway was at the 7th heaven of the godly venerable realm. Furthermore, he cultivated the Tao of the saber, so his attacks were the most domineering and ferocious. He made a seemingly casual grab at Su Fong, but 5 sharp saber gleams that were more than 3 meters long brought along a terrifying divine might that seemed capable of slicing apart the heavens and earth. They shattered the space and were about to strangle Su Fong to death. Phaseless fire clouds saber. Su Fong Da shouted. Suddenly, flaming saber gleams descended from the void. The flaming saber gleams exploded. Dozens of flaming saber gleams collided with the sharp saber gleams of the G People's Old Man, resulting in bursts of sparks. The saber gleams were shattered and melted. The flaming saber gleams also turned into sparks and dissipated. When the old man from the G People saw the shattered heavenly gate, he immediately roared, "Who are you? How dare you provoke us, the supreme G People?" "Su Fong, here to seek revenge," Su Fong said indifferently. "Su Fong?" The old man from the G People revealed a puzzled expression. Clearly, he did not know Su Fong's name. This was not surprising. Ji Wuji and the Ji People's third ancestor, Ji Lai, had suffered at the hands of Su Fong. This was a scandal that the Ji People would naturally not spread. This old man from the Ji People was only an external affairs elder in charge of external affairs. Naturally, he would not know about the matters of the upper echelons. Rainbow Desolation City was far away from the heavenly sound god, Realm Master Realm. What happened there could not be spread to the Master Realm immediately. Furthermore, Su Fong's reputation was currently only limited to the Azure Dome star field. Given how vast the universe was, it was impossible for his reputation to be so great that even an external affairs elder of the G People knew about him. This person is Su Fong. The destruction of the heavenly sound god realm's heavenly gate was a huge matter. It had alarmed the spies of the other forces in the heavenly sound god realm. Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce, Sanskrit, Tian Peng Celestial Race, and other major powers had experts stationed in the heavenly note world. Some of the more informed ones were extremely shocked when they learned of Su Fong's identity. This was especially so for the Sanskrit and the heavenly Peng divine race. They immediately took out rune talismans and sent a message to the experts that were stationed in the heavenly note divine world. The old G People's voice was filled with killing intent. No matter who you are, destroying our supreme G People's gate of heaven is a crime punishable by death. You will have your tendons pulled out and your skin flayed. Brat, obediently surrender. One of the heavenly Peng celestial race's experts said with a murderous aura, "This person has a great enmity with our heavenly Peng celestial race. Since we've met him here, we can't let him go. The Su Fong belongs to our supreme Sanskrit. No one is allowed to compete with our Sanskrit." Two other Sanskrit experts leaped into the air at the same time. The atmosphere was tense. A cold voice rang out, "All of you back off." Immediately after, a vast and majestic aura descended with a loud rumble. Then, the figure of a young man walked out of the void. This young man looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. However, he gave off an indescribable feeling of vicissitudes of life. His aura was empty, and it was as though he had merged with the heavens and earth. The old G People's elder shuddered as his mind buzzed. Trembling, he knelt on the ground and "Greetings, second ancestor." "Second ancestor?" Su Fong raised his eyebrows. He hadn't expected the second ancestor of the G People to appear personally. The G People have a total of 3 ancestors. All of them are peerless existences that surpass the Protectorate Lord. Now, even the second ancestor has appeared for this Su Fong. The surrounding gods were all deeply shocked. Every one of them was in disbelief. "Emperor Sang Xiao, please show yourself." The G People's second ancestor cupped his fists and bowed to Su Fong. His tone was extremely respectful. Of course, he wasn't bowing to Su Fong. Instead, he was bowing to Emperor Sang Xiao, who was on the primordial chaos golden roll. A golden Xian Guang swept down from above Su Fong's head. Like a golden waterfall, it quickly condensed into a golden roll. Primordial Chaos Golden Roll. This is the legendary Primordial Chaos Golden Roll. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Then, the image of a young man with disheveled hair appeared from the golden roll. He said indifferently, "Second Ancestor G, why are you looking for me?" His indifferent voice was like the voice of the heavenly Tao. Everyone's hearts trembled in fear as they involuntarily knelt on the ground. The G people's second ancestor pointed at Su Fong. This kid killed our G people's disciples and killed our top prodigy Ji Wuji's 2 incarnations. Furthermore, he schemed against the third ancestor and severely injured him. However, with Emperor Sangqiu's protection, the Ji people can only endure. His words set off a great storm in everyone's hearts. Their minds were filled with a roar. Killing Ji Wuji's 2 incarnations and even severely injuring the Ji people's third ancestor, they would still believe it if it was a venerable emperor. How could a young, godly venerable possess such strength? However, the Ji people's second ancestor had personally said it. Who would dare to not believe it? Then, the Ji people's second ancestor inexplicably said with grief and indignation, "However, this kid is unbridled and arrogant. He actually dares to provoke our Ji people and destroy our Ji people's heavenly gate. He's gone too far. Emperor Sangqiu, please show yourself. Emperor Sangqiu, please give us an explanation. Gone too far?" The Ji people were strong and domineering. It had always been the Ji people bullying others. When had anyone dared to bully the Ji people? The Ji people's second ancestor's words made everyone feel incredulous. They even felt that it was a little absurd. Emperor Sangqiu looked at Su Fong. The primordial chaos golden roll is only to protect you from being harmed by experts. It is not for you to use your power to bully others. Although Emperor Sangqiu's tone was calm, Su Fong could sense the displeasure in it. The next moment, grief and indignation appeared on Su Fong's face. It was 10 times more intense than the Ji people's second ancestors. Then, Su Fong slowly explained the hatred between him and the Ji people to Emperor Sangqiu. Mo Shangsong is like my father. How can I not avenge my father's death? Shu Yinkong is my master who has treated me with great kindness. If I don't avenge my master's clan, how am I different from a beast? Sun Shi, young master Tianwu, by Holan, and the rock demon Shin are all my family and friends. They almost died at Ji Wuji's hands. I have also been attacked by the Ji people's experts. If I didn't have some life-saving methods, I would have died long ago. There are so many blood feuds between the Ji people and me. If I don't avenge them, my Tao heart will not be at ease. If my Tao heart is not at ease, my cultivation will be difficult. Therefore, before I enter the Yuan Tiangong to cultivate, I must end the feud between me and the Ji people. I am not relying on Lord Emperor's power. I only hope to use the primordial chaos golden roll to prevent the Ji people's experts from attacking me. As for the Ji people's experts below the Ji people's domain lord level, they do not need the protection of the primordial chaos golden roll. I will treat this revenge as an experience. If I die at the hands of the Ji people, it will be because I am not strong enough. Lord Emperor, please uphold justice for me. Su Fong knelt on the ground and spoke in a voice filled with grief and indignation. There was a moment of silence. Sovereign Sangqiu said majestically, "Back then, this sovereign promised you that experts above the domain lord level would not attack you. If any expert above the domain lord level were to attack you, it would be a provocation to this sovereign, and this sovereign would definitely kill them. I didn't expect you to be so smart to take advantage of this emperor's loophole and know how to borrow power. Fine, then I'll fulfill your wish. Many thanks, Lord Emperor." Su Fong cupped his fists and thanked him. He was very happy. This time, Su Fong dared to come to the Ji people openly to seek revenge because he had already planned to borrow Emperor Sangqiu's power. Otherwise, with Su Fong's current strength, coming to seek revenge was not domineering but foolish. Any one of the Ji people's 3 great ancestors could easily kill him. How could he talk about revenge? In Keihong Huang City, the Ji people's 3 great ancestors were prepared to attack Su Fong, but they were stopped by Emperor Sangqiu. At that time, Su Fong was already prepared to take revenge on the Ji people. He even used words to trap Sangqiu. Therefore, Su Fong was very confident that Emperor Sangqiu would agree to his request. When one was weak, borrowing power from the strong. This was wisdom. This time, Su Fong wanted to borrow Emperor Sangqiu's power to launch a crazy massacre in the Ji people. He wanted to return all the hatred and humiliation that the G people had inflicted on him tenfold. Who knew? Emperor Sangxiu continued. This emperor's power is not so easy to borrow. This time, treat it as a test for you. If the experts below the domain lord level attack you, this emperor will not restrict them. If you are killed by the experts of the G people, don't blame this emperor for being merciless and not caring about you. Also, if you don't die, this emperor will cancel some of your special treatment when you come to Yuan Tiangong. I understand. Thank you, Emperor Sangxiu. Su Fang said gratefully to Emperor Sangxiu. The G people's second great ancestor said angrily, Emperor Sangxiu, what? Do I need you to teach me how to do things? Emperor Sangxiu's tone became more serious. An invisible pressure suddenly pressed down on the G people's second great ancestor. He groaned and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The G people's second great ancestor gritted his teeth, but he did not dare to do anything. Although the G people were powerful, the G people did not have an Emperor Sangxiu. No matter how strong their foundation was, if an Emperor Sangxiu was angry, he could instantly destroy the G people. The second great ancestor could only be angry, but did not dare to say anything. Emperor Sangxiu's shadow disappeared from the Hunyuan Golden Leaderboard, and the Hunyuan Golden Leaderboard also disappeared into nothingness. Looking at Su Fang, the G people's second great ancestor's eyes became extremely cold. He said coldly and embarrassedly, Su Fang, what a peerless genius. Ha! We, the supreme G people, are actually being humiliated by a divine venerable realm true God. Since you want to defeat us, the G people, then I'll be your guide so that you don't get lost. Let's see how you'll defeat us. Then, please wait and see, Emperor Sangxiu. Su Fang sneered domineeringly. A strong battle intent burst out from him. Kill him. Whoever kills Su Fang will be the great elder of the G people. The G people's second great ancestor slowly rose into the air with his hands behind his back. Then he spoke to the G people's old man in a voice filled with killing intent. Arrogant brat, die. The G people's old man's eyes flickered with greed. After forming a seal, he activated the divine power of nature and gathered it into a surging wave that rolled towards Su Fang. Su Fang, hand over your life. The three venerable realm experts of the Tian Peng, celestial race, and Sanskrit also charged towards Su Fang. Master, senior sister, grandfather, Qingyu, just you wait and see how I'll avenge all of you. Su Fang laughed domineeringly. He formed a seal that caused the space within a 10-mile radius to release a majestic and heavy gravity. Chaotic Earth Formless Seal. Chapter 21:14. Su Fang's cultivation base was fully unleashed. His third heaven ultimate god cultivation base was fully displayed. With Su Fang's age, being able to possess the cultivation base of a third heaven godly venerable was certainly shocking. However, he was currently facing 4 experts ranging from 5th heaven to 7th heaven godly venerable. Seeing that Su Fang did not use any peerless divine ability, everyone present thought that Su Fang would not be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. He actually dares to threaten to defeat the G people. What a joke. Some of the surrounding people sneered at Su Fang. Who would have thought that in the next moment, the power of the chaotic formless seal suddenly exploded and the majestic gravity caused the 4 experts to suddenly sink. Their bodies couldn't help but sway from side to side, and their monstrous aura instantly collapsed. Q8 ZBSB. Su Fang's understanding of the great Tao's law had surpassed the ultimate God realm. He had reached the stage where he could control the heavenly Tao's law as he wished, causing the power of the formless chaotic seal to become extremely shocking. Get over here. While the G people's old man was still in shock, a repulsive force suddenly exploded from behind him, pushing his body forward. At this moment, Su Fang used the earth ripple step and appeared in front of the old man in a flash. After killing you, I'll be the G people's grand elder. The G people's old man's eyes were filled with greed. He opened his mouth and spat out a flying sword. Puff! Su Fang's figure shattered. While the G people's old man was surprised and delighted, The back of his head was hit by a huge force. His head shattered like a watermelon. Su Fong had just used the great Tao of time. The Ji people's old man had only shattered the image of Su Fong a few breaths ago. The heavenly Peng divine race's expert flew up and broke free from the formless chaotic seal's divine power shackles. After the two Ji people's experts unleashed their divine abilities and broke free from the shackles, they charged towards Su Fong without caring about anything else. A blood shadow flashed from Su Fong's body and disappeared into the void. Reckless Sanskrit, Su Fong shouted in a domineering and cold voice. His eyes burst out with a terrifying divine power of primordial spirit and surged toward the two Sanskrit experts like a tide. The divine light of the two Sanskrit experts changed instantly. Under the godly aura of Su Fong's primordial spirit, their divine orifices were shaken and their primordial spirits almost went out of control. Puff! Then, Su Fong opened his mouth and spat out a cloud of poisonous smoke. The two Sanskrit experts focused all their energy on their divine apertures. As for the outside world, they couldn't care less. Sizzle, sizzle. His aura was corroded by the strong poison. Then, his god body was eroded by the poisonous smoke. His flesh, blood, and bones were all corroded. Just as the two Sanskrit experts were killed, the miserable shriek of the Tian Peng expert reverberated through the air. A blood shadow continually flew out of the void and got into his body. It took away a large amount of blood chi and then got back into his god body. This process repeated for more than 10 times. The vitality of the fifth heaven ultimate god dimmed, and he fell to the ground, dying a miserable death. The blood shadow flashed and was absorbed into Su Fong's body. With the increase of his cultivation, the blood shadow doppelganger formed from the heaven underworld was extremely powerful. From the moment Su Fong made his move to killing the 4 ultimate gods, the entire process took less than 20 breaths. The 4 of them were ultimate gods and not ordinary gods. They were peerless experts in any major world. Yet, they were all killed by Su Fong so easily. It shocked everyone. There was a deathly silence in front of the heavenly gate in the heavenly note divine world. Some gods from other forces secretly recorded the entire process with jade slips and quickly transmitted it to the heavenly note divine world's main realm. Then, it was transmitted back to the various major forces through various channels. It inevitably caused a commotion. The Ji people's second ancestor's face was gloomy as he said coldly, "Su Fong, please come in. I would like to see how you are going to break through my clan." The Ji people's experts were killed right in front of him. Yet, he still wanted to invite Su Fong to continue. This was a strange thing that had never happened in the history of the Ji people. "Thank you, Senior." Su Fong chuckled and stepped into the spatial passage in a flash. Whoosh, Su Fong passed through the array and came out. As Su Fong walked through the entrance that the Ji people's upper echelons usually used, he directly arrived at the core area of the Ji people. He saw a divine tree rooted in the chaos. It was 1,000,000 miles tall, and its trunk had a diameter of more than 100,000 miles. It was Su Fong's first time seeing such a huge tree. The entire divine tree gave off an ancient and vicissitude aura, as though it was one with the heavens and earth. The divine tree had green leaves, and each leaf was tens of thousands of miles long. On top of the leaves, there was an extremely luxurious palace. The leaves formed an extremely huge and vast palace complex. The layers of the leaves on the divine tree were distinct, and there were a total of 9 levels. The entire building was also divided into 9 levels. The higher the level, the more luxurious the palace was. Builder tree? I didn't expect the Ji people to have the legendary divine tree. Shu Wanjin exclaimed in surprise. Su Fong asked in surprise, "Senior sister, what is the builder tree?" The golden rainbow monarch's proud voice sounded from his inner world. Legend has it that when the heavens and earth were first created, the builder tree was a bridge that connected the heavens and earth. Later on, during the great war of the immortals and demons, the earth shattered and the builder tree was destroyed. The ancestor of the G people obtained a branch of the builder tree. After countless years of nurturing, it was restored to its current state. Although it's not the real builder tree, it can be considered a unique divine tree in the myriad of worlds. Kid, you have to be careful. It's not that easy to break through the G people. Just entering the builder tree, where the core members of the G people live, is extremely dangerous. Don't die outside before you enter the G people. That would be a huge joke, and even I would die along with you. Su Fong used his great perfection stage ability and focused his gaze. He saw the builder tree releasing an astonishing amount of world power and forming a world barrier outside. It was unlikely that a peerless expert like Ash Flame Ocean would be able to force his way in. After entering the inner space of the builder tree, there were only branches entangled by vines. Su Fong was standing on one end of a branch. Although they were called tree branches, each branch was more than a dozen miles thick. The vines formed a forest. If I can't even enter the inner space of the G people, it would be a joke. Su Fongda stepped on the branch. Swish, swish, swish. Countless branches crazily shot towards Su Fong. It was like a green sea that wanted to engulf Su Fong. In the inner space of the builder tree, on a leaf at the top of a tree, the G people's second patriarch stood with his hands behind his back. More than 1,000 gods of the G people appeared behind him. There were tycoons of the G people and young elites. Is this the Su Fong who injured young Master Wuji? He looks very ordinary. There's nothing outstanding about him. If he didn't use tricks, how could he be a match for young Master Wuji? Break through our supreme G people? Ridiculous. It's hard to say if he can even enter our inner space. How dare he dream of breaking through the G people? Do we need experts above the domain lord level to kill such an ant? Some of the G people's elites behind the G people's second patriarch whispered. They pointed at Su Fong and scolded him. At this moment, boom, a fire elemental divine aura with a primordial aura burst out from Su Fong's body. It turned out that Su Fong had fused the prehistoric inflammation with his body and released the terrifying divine aura of the prehistoric inflammation. The prehistoric inflammation was a heavenly flame that was born in the primordial era. It had the power to destroy the world. All these years, it had been absorbing the ancient aura of the primordial origin, sacred mirror, and had matured to an adult state. It also possessed the primordial origin yang energy of the primordial origin, sacred mirror. No other flame could compare to the divine aura of the primordial origin, sacred mirror. At this moment, the prehistoric inflammation's divine aura burst out and immediately burned the vines that swarmed over to ashes. Su Fong took the opportunity to fly forward. Wherever he went, the vines would either be burned or retreat to avoid Su Fong's divine aura. Soon, Su Fong followed the branches and arrived at the tree trunk. He flew through the air and landed on a huge leaf on the first floor. The prehistoric inflammation had also become dim due to the huge consumption of energy. Su Fong retrieved it into the primordial origin mirror and recovered it by absorbing the yin and yang energy. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Thousands of G people's experts charged over from the surroundings. Countless G people's experts also charged out from the palaces. You want to exhaust my strength by relying on your numbers? I'm not afraid of numbers. Su Fong slightly activated the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle. With a flash of golden light, he instantly dashed into the crowd. How fast was the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle? Su Fong's speed was as fast as lightning. It was hard for the naked eye to catch his figure. Before the G people's experts could react, Su Fong formed a hand seal and unleashed the azure falling blood dome. It covered an area of 1,000 miles. Screams of agony resounded throughout the Jianmu world. The G people's experts died one after another in the azure falling yellow springs reincarnation. They became nutrients for Su Fong to become stronger. Half an hour later, Su Fong retracted the azure falling blood dome. The surrounding area of 1,000 miles was empty. 3,000 G people's experts were all devoured by Su Fong. Not even their bones were left. Second patriarch of the G people, there aren't enough people. I'll send you more. After devouring so many people's blood, chi, and cultivation, Su Fang's aura clearly became more majestic. His life force also became more tenacious. How arrogant! A woman behind the second patriarch of the Ji people shouted angrily. She was about to leap across the sky and attack Su Fang. The second patriarch of the Ji people shouted at the woman to retreat. Then, he said imposingly, "Among the younger generation of the Ji people, no one is Su Fang's match. You'll only be courting death if you go. Ji Luan, go. Su Fang has a grudge against me for killing my brother. Thank you, second patriarch, for giving me this chance to take revenge." A middle-aged man who looked similar to Su Fang cupped his fists at the second patriarch of the Ji people. Then, a spatial distortion divine power rose from the leaves under his feet and teleported him in front of Su Fang. "I heard that you're here to take revenge for Imo Shangsong and the Shu clan, right?" Ji Luan looked down at Su Fang and shouted coldly. A lofty aura spontaneously rose from him. "What do you want to say?" Su Fang secretly became vigilant. This person's cultivation had reached the terrifying ninth heaven of ultimate God. He was equivalent to a great realm lord. Even Su Fang had to be careful when dealing with him. "Back then, I also chased after Imo Shangsong and personally dealt him a fatal blow. I also participated in the pursuit of Shu Yunkong and Shu Wanjin. I also cultivated the Shu clan's great Tao of time. Didn't you want to take revenge for Imo Shangsong and the Shu clan? Hurry up and kill me." Chapter 21:15. Ji Luan's words caused Su Fang's eyes to freeze. His killing intent became extremely sharp. Shu Wanjin's voice rang in Su Fang's mind. "That's right. He was one of the Ji people who hunted me back then. However, his cultivation was only at the Divine Emperor realm back then. I didn't expect him to be an 8th heaven ultimate god expert now." Shu Yunkong's voice was filled with hatred. "Back then, the Ji people hunted me down not only because Wanjin went back on her word and offended Ji Wuji, but also because he coveted our clan's great Tao of time technique and divine ability. He was the main culprit back then." Su Fang said coldly, "If that's the case, I'll make him pay back tenfold. Ji Ong was my elder brother. You killed him with a trick. Since you've delivered yourself to me, I'm going to skin you alive and make you into a fleshly puppet. I'm going to shackle your primordial spirit and torture you forever." Ji Luan gritted his teeth and quickly formed a seal. Rumble. Ji Luan parted his hands, and a wheel condensed from the power of time rolled out like a wheel. It possessed a terrifying presence that could crush everything in the world to dust. The Wheel of Time. There was a solemn look in Su Fang's eyes. This person's cultivation was slightly lower than Ji Yang's. He was at the 8th heaven ultimate god realm. However, this person's understanding of the great Tao of time was higher than Ji Yang's. The Wheel of Time was the Shu clan's supreme great Tao of time. There was nothing in the world that could resist the power of time. Wherever the Wheel of Time went, everything would turn into smoke and clouds of the past. Even the primordial spirit that could ignore matter and energy could not resist the Wheel of Time. This was the terrifying part of the Wheel of Time. Although Su Fang had comprehended and cultivated this great Tao of time, he had not mastered it to such an extent. The Ji people were indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Flower of heavenly Tao. Su Fang used the essence of 6 great Tao to form a flower of heavenly Tao that was 10 feet tall. It emitted a dazzling light and exploded with the supreme power of the heavenly Tao reincarnation. It collided with the Wheel of Time. Boom! Under the Wheel of Time, even the heavenly Tao was crushed into nothingness. However, under the divine might of the heavenly Tao Samsara, the Wheel of Time was also worn down layer by layer until it finally disappeared. The terrifying power of the collision spread out in all directions. The palace on the leaf, as well as the Ji people's experts in the palace, were immediately hit hard. Under the flower of heavenly Tao's peerless heavenly Tao divine might and the Wheel of Time's power, the palace quickly decayed and collapsed, turning into ruins. Everything within a few hundred miles, including the Ji clan's clansmen, turned into ashes. I've grasped the essence of all 6 great Taos and merged them into one to form the heavenly Tao's divine might. Countless G people's experts were aghast when they saw this scene. The heavenly Tao was ethereal, and the great Tao was hard to find. To the vast majority of gods, it was extremely difficult to cultivate a great Tao to the point where they could grasp the essence of the laws. Su Fong had actually grasped the essence of all 6 laws that formed the foundation of the heavenly Tao and merged them into one to form the flower of heavenly Tao. From this, it could be seen that his understanding of the heavenly Tao had reached an unimaginable height that was far beyond the ultimate God realm. The terrifying height of his cultivation realm made up for Su Fong's lack of cultivation base. Within the ultimate God realm, it was almost impossible for him to meet a worthy opponent. Even if he couldn't defeat them, he could still protect himself with ease. The G-Clan's prodigies and geniuses behind the second forefather were all listed on the G-Clan's G-Sun roll. Normally, they had their eyes above their heads and considered everyone beneath them. In the beginning, they snorted disdainfully at Su Fong and mocked him. However, at this moment, their faces were filled with shock and fear. They just realized that no one among the younger generation of the G people was a match for Su Fong. It wasn't an accident that Su Fong killed the 2 clones of Ji Wuji. This kid, his cultivation aptitude, is heaven-defying. Since the G people have already formed a death grudge with him, then we must use all means to kill him. Otherwise, when he becomes a peerless expert, the G people will have no place in the world. Ji Luan is not Su Fong's match. Second Grandmaster, we must use thunder to kill him as soon as possible. Ji Wuji appeared beside the Ji people's second Grandmaster without anyone noticing. At this moment, Ji Wuji had already lost his usual high spirits. His face was sallow and his eyes were deeply sunken. He looked like a seriously ill person who had yet to recover from a serious illness. The former number 1 prodigy of the G people had actually become like this. It wasn't only because his first and second bodies were killed. The main reason was because his second body was killed by the thunder of destiny. Even his original body was killed. If he didn't have a life-saving technique, he would have died along with his original body. Although he managed to save his original body, Ji Wuji's vitality was also greatly damaged. The former number 1 prodigy of the G people had already disappeared. Moreover, he was injured by the thunder of destiny. What he was injured was the faintly discernible destiny. It was impossible for him to recover. This also meant that Ji Wuji would forever lose his prodigy's edge. Although he wouldn't become a nobody, he would definitely be very different from before. Let's wait and see. Although this kid's talent is extraordinary, I don't believe that he can defy the heavens. The Ji people's second Grandmaster said indifferently. Ji Wuji didn't say anything else. However, a hint of hatred flashed across his eyes. In the past, before his strength was damaged, the Ji people's second Grandmaster would have obeyed his every command. However, after his injury, the Ji people's attitude towards him had obviously changed. There are even some ambitious prodigies who try to challenge him and replace him. The battle between Su Fong and Ji Luan was still ongoing. Ji Luan's Great Tao of Time was not only powerful in terms of offensive power, but it also had shocking defensive capabilities. Any attacks that tried to break through his defense would be nullified by the Great Tao of Time. Su Fong gradually fell into a disadvantageous position. Break through the Ji people? What a joke. Su Fong, you're just a clown. In front of me, Ji Luan, you have immediately revealed your true colors. Ha ha ha. Will of time, crush. Ji Luan laughed loudly. He was very proud and arrogant. His attacks towards Su Fong became even more ferocious. Right now, I'm inside the Ji people. The longer this drags on, the more disadvantageous it will be for me. I need to end this battle. Su Fong didn't hold back anymore. He struck out a series of dazzling hand seals. 6 types of great Tao fused together and spiraled around him, forming a world of reincarnation. Immediately after, Su Fong activated the underworld reincarnation sword. The great Tao of reincarnation fused with the heavenly Tao of reincarnation. Boom! The Wheel of Time smashed on his Su Fang's defense. The great Tao of reincarnation was shaken and shattered. At the same time, the Wheel of Time was rapidly broken down and fused together. Then, under the effect of the great Tao of reincarnation, it reformed and turned into a Wheel of Time. It rolled towards Jiluan. This was one of the abilities of the underworld reincarnation technique. It reincarnated the enemy's attack and gave them a taste of their own medicine. Because the underworld reincarnation sword's quality wasn't high enough, Su Fang could only cooperate with the great Tao of reincarnation to repel Ji Luan's attack. Ji Luan's divine light changed instantly. He formed another hand seal and used his great Tao of reincarnation to dissolve the Wheel of Time. At this moment, Su Fang began his powerful counterattack. Time flies like an arrow. Sun and moon fly like a shuttle. Arrow of Time. Su Fang roared furiously. The great Tao of Time suddenly exploded. Two types of yin and yang energy, one black and one white, condensed into a 3 feet long arrow. It shot towards Jiluan with a terrifying aura that could annihilate time and space. He actually mastered the great Tao of Time, the Arrow of Time. Jiluan was shocked. However, he didn't panic. The power of the Arrow of Time couldn't threaten him. Purple Chi Dharma Spirit control the world. Su Fang didn't hesitate to activate the Purple Chi Dharma Spirit. A supreme great Tao of heaven and earth exploded with a mysterious purple chi. It enveloped Jiluan and the surrounding area of 100 miles. This was Su Fang's first time using the Purple Chi Dharma Spirit. He used nature as a great Tao of heaven and earth to control it. The builder tree below him trembled uncontrollably when it sensed the Purple Chi Dharma Spirit's aura. It was also afraid of the Purple Chi Dharma Spirit's supreme, great Tao of Time. Jiluan instantly felt that he had lost control of the great Tao of heaven and earth. The great Tao of Time's power was still built on the foundation of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Losing control of the great Tao of heaven meant that the power of his great Tao of heaven and earth was suppressed. His strength was instantly weakened to the extreme. At this moment, the power of the Arrow of Time exploded. The black and white energies released a mysterious and terrifying great Tao of time annihilation. His defenses shattered layer by layer. Heaven Underworld, devouring bloodline. Su Fang grabbed at the air. A great Tao of devouring descended upon Ji Luan's body. Dense blood chi enveloped the bloodlines and forcibly peeled them from his body. They were sucked into Su Fang's body through his palm. Ah! Ji Luan screamed in agony. He quickly turned into a lifeless corpse and fell onto the leaves. He couldn't be more dead. Su Fang had lost a lot of life force to use the Arrow of Time. After devouring Ji Luan's life force and blood chi, he quickly fused them together. His life force rapidly recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. You injured Mo Shangsong and chased after Master and Senior Sister. You brought this upon yourself. Su Fang smiled coldly. He reached out and grabbed Ji Luan's storage ring. Then, he directly flew toward the second level of the builder tree. Kill him. It was only now that the second Grandmaster of the Ji people realized that Ji Wuji's words were not an exaggeration. The importance he attached to the Su Fang was raised to a whole new level. Immediately, with a thunderous roar, he issued a murderous decree. Swish! Swish! One figure after another rushed over from all directions. This time, the Ji people didn't underestimate Su Fang anymore. They sent out real experts. There were 3 great realm lords, more than 20 hierarch experts, and the weakest among them were divine emperors. Once you're entangled with them, you'll fall into a tight encirclement. Let's go. Without any hesitation, Su Fang activated the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle. His entire body transformed into a ray of light. Without waiting for the Ji people's experts to form an encirclement, he instantly swept past them and rushed into the palace complex in the distance. Chapter 21:16. The Piercing Sun Golden Rainbow. The eyes of the Ji people's second patriarch, Ji Wuji, and many other Ji people's experts changed. Back then, The Golden Rainbow Monarch had also barged into the G people's world. Although he was discovered early and did not suffer any losses, the Golden Rainbow Monarch managed to escape with the help of the piercing sun Golden Rainbow. Only the G people's second patriarch had personally experienced this back then. However, the incident of the Golden Rainbow Monarch barging into the G people's world was recorded in the clan's ancient records. Naturally, everyone knew about the famous piercing sun Golden Rainbow. Ji Wuji had entered the Golden Rainbow Monarch's world not long ago for the piercing sun Golden Rainbow. How could the Ji people not be shocked when they saw Su Fang's divine artifact turn into a ray of light and enter the Ji people's world as if there was no one there? They took a closer look. The Ji people's second patriarch raised his eyebrows. It's not the piercing sun Golden Rainbow. However, it's still an extremely powerful divine artifact, second only to the piercing sun Golden Rainbow. Even experts below the domain lord level would find it difficult to capture Su Fang. The clan's array formations and restrictions would also find it difficult to trap him. Ji Wuji said, "Second patriarch, let Ji Feng do it." Ji Feng? The Ji people's second patriarch frowned when he mentioned this name. The other Ji people's people also looked wary and even fearful. It was as if Ji Feng was some peerless, ferocious beast that made people pale when they talked about him. Ji Feng, he was a notorious figure in the Ji people. His notoriety was even greater than the Ji people's third patriarch, Ji Lai, who had destroyed a major world. This person's real name was not Ji Feng. This was because he cultivated a strange and evil great Tao that was a branch of the great Tao of death. It was called the Tao of pestilence. Hence, he was named Ji Feng. Once the Tao of pestilence was used, all living things within its range would be contaminated, and even heaven and earth would wither and die. Moreover, the Tao of pestilence could also spread freely. Wherever it went, not a single blade of grass would grow, and all living things would wither. Ji Feng had once used an ability to destroy a sect. In the end, he had lost control for a moment, causing a great world and the hundreds of smaller worlds around it to become a land of death. Later on, a venerable emperor powerhouse was alerted, and he personally came out to warn the Ji people. The Ji people had no choice but to seal Ji Feng in the Ji people. He had not shown himself for tens of millions of years. However, Ji Feng's notoriety was known to all. Not only the other forces, but even the Ji people were fearful of him. Seeing that the Ji people's second patriarch was somewhat hesitant, Ji Wuji continued, "If we allow the Su Fang to continue acting arrogantly in Ji City, not only will the Ji people suffer heavy casualties, it will also deal a heavy blow to the Ji people's reputation. In addition, the Golden Rainbow King's treasure is most likely in the hands of Su Fang." Fine, this farce should end soon. Let Ji Feng make his move. He cannot use it in a crowded place. We must lure Su Fang to a desolate and uninhabited place. The Ji people's second patriarch said majestically. It was obvious that the Golden Rainbow King's treasure had moved him. Ji Wuji smiled faintly. "Second patriarch, have you forgotten where Mo Shangtsung and Ji Bing were buried?" Su Fang activated the sky-breaking rainbow shuttle and sped through the Ji people's territory. He swept past the layers of builder tree leaves. Layers upon layers of formations and restrictions were useless to him. Even the realm lord powerhouses of the Ji people's great worlds could not catch up to his speed. When he encountered some of the weaker Ji people, he did not hesitate to use the blue sky yellow springs and wantonly devour their blood. Wherever he went, no one could stop his sharpness. Soon, Su Fang killed his way from the second layer of builder tree leaves to the fifth layer. Along the way, countless Ji people had lost their lives. "Kid, isn't my sky-breaking rainbow shuttle powerful?" "Awesome, it's really awesome. You actually did what I couldn't do back then. This is really awesome." The Golden Rainbow King laughed complacently in his internal world. "Good job killing. It's best if you annihilate the entire Ji people." Bai Ling gritted her teeth as she watched Qing Yu get injured. However, the Heavenly Lord of Chaos did not do anything to save him. She had always felt guilty toward Qing Yu. Now that Su Fang was massacring the entire Ji people, she naturally felt incomparably delighted. Su Fong was also killing to his heart's content. His heart was clear, and he could not help but let out a long roar. Su Fong, the Ji people's second patriarch's cold and embarrassed voice sounded. Su Fong sneered. Why? Does Senior feel heartache? There are more than 10 billion people in my race. Can you kill them all? I'm just afraid that you will get tired of killing and mess up your Dao heart. From then on, you will fall into the demon Dao. The Ji people's second patriarch snorted coldly. Then he said, didn't you say that you wanted to avenge Mo Shangsong? If you're interested in paying your respects, I will guide you to the place where he died. Su Fong's figure paused. He had once promised to avenge Mo Fenghua's parents. Now that he was in the Ji people, how could he not pay his respects? Now that the Ji people's second patriarch reminded him, Su Fong knew that there was a conspiracy, but he had no choice but to go. A gust of Xian Guang wrapped around a jade slip flew through the air. Thank you for the reminder. Su Fong released a wisp of his consciousness into the jade slip. As expected, it was a spatial coordinate. Su Fong cupped his fist to the Ji people's second patriarch. Then, according to the coordinates, he activated the sky-breaking rainbow shuttle and flew toward it. The golden rainbow flew. In just 3 short breaths, Su Fong circled to the back of the huge builder tree. The leaves of the builder tree here were no longer green. Some were yellow, and some had already withered. On the huge leaves, there were no longer any magnificent buildings. Instead, there were ruins, cemeteries, and desolate lands. With his perfected vision, Su Fong immediately saw a leaf on the 5th level. It was only about 100 miles in size and seemed to be frozen. The entire leaf was a small ice field. In the center of the ice field, there was a small ice mountain. Below it was a lake that was about 10 miles in size. There it is. Su Fong's figure swayed. He flew through the air and landed on the ice field. He arrived at the lake below the ice mountain. The lake water was clear and bright blue. The reflection of the ice mountain gave it a sense of holiness. It was as if it was a holy place inside the filthy Ji people. A cold wind blew across the surface of the lake, carrying with it a bone-piercing chill, as well as a sorrowful and melancholic atmosphere. The lake's edge and bottom were covered with thick soil. In this cold ice field, it was not frozen. It supported this small lake. This lake, it was Ji Bing who had become an ice sculpture and then melted. I am willing to turn into mud. If you are willing to forgive me, please turn into water. You and I will be one for all eternity, never to be separated. Vaguely, Su Fong seemed to hear a voice whispering in the wind. The lake water rippled gently, as if it was welcoming the wind. Su Fong was shocked. He knelt down towards the lake. This time, he knelt not only for Mo Fenghua, but also for Mo Shangsong and Ji Bing. At this moment, Su Fong thought of Xiao Mei and Xuanxin. He also thought of Goddess Luo, who had spent a lifetime with him in the illusory world of the illusionary, exterminating heart mirror. There was a long silence. I, Su Fong, will never let their tragedy repeat itself on me. Su Fong's eyes flickered with decisiveness and determination. Then, he released Xian Lingzi, Ling Xiangmei, and Count Chong from his inner world. My son, Shangsong, Ji Bing, Daddy has come to see you. As soon as Xian Lingzi's voice came out, tears flowed down his old face. His entire body trembled. Shangsong, young master. Ling Xiangmei's face was covered in tears. Count Chong knelt on the ground and cried. Suddenly, Wang, the destiny runes of the heavenly fate life shrinking technique and the heavenly fate true runes of the heavenly fate mystic decipher flashed rapidly at the same time, warning Su Fong that a huge crisis was about to descend. Su Fong's divine light changed instantly. He shouted loudly, Grandpa, be careful. This scene is really moving. Even I, the god of plague who kills people like scything flax, am somewhat moved. A sinister voice suddenly came from the surroundings. The icy aura on the ice field suddenly became sinister and strange. The sky also changed color, turning into a strange and gloomy green. Sizzle, through the power of the purple Chi Dharma spirit, Su Fong could clearly see that the natural spirit chi of heaven and earth was quickly contaminated by an evil aura, and it was rapidly spreading in all directions. Every corner of the ice plains was filled with this evil aura. It felt as if a drop of ink was suddenly dropped into a pool of clear water, and the entire pool was quickly contaminated. The crystal clear ice plains were instantly dyed a pale green color, and heaven and earth were filled with an evil aura. Su Fong did not have time to put Xian Lingzi, Ling Xiangmei, and Count Chong into his inner world. The evil aura immediately penetrated the aura field, ignoring the defense, and seeped into the flesh, bones, and spiritual palace. Even Su Fong was no exception. What was particularly shocking was that the evil aura also contained a strange curse power, which crazily devoured the primordial spirit and contaminated the sea of Dharma power. "It's the seasonal plague," Shu Wanjin shouted in Su Fong's mind, loudly reminding Su Fong. "The Ji people, there's actually such an evil overlord." Su Fong was shocked and hurriedly activated the divine fire of 9 suns to cleanse the evil aura that had seeped into his divine body. At the same time, he also used the life-shrinking technique to burn the Tao of Destiny to dissolve the curse power. In such a short time, Su Fong felt as if he had been seriously ill and his entire body was weak. Count Chong was the first to fall unconscious, followed by Ling Xiangmei and Xian Lingzi. Xian Lingzi's fever was a bit better, and he was still conscious. Their skin quickly turned green, then black, and then festered and emitted a foul smell. Under this evil power, their life chi, divine essence, and primordial spirit were also being devoured at an astonishing speed. A figure slowly appeared above the lake. It was a middle-aged man in a green robe. His face was pale, and his eyes flashed with a strange green light. I thought it was some powerful figure that made the old guy so surprised, but I didn't expect it to be a few weak chickens that couldn't even withstand a single blow. "The G people are really declining." The seasonal plague sneered disdainfully. As soon as he finished speaking, boom, a strand of divine might of flames erupted from Su Fong's body with a bang, incinerating the evil aura in the surroundings with a sizzling sound, and it was quickly cleared away. Chapter 21:17. Su Fong's 9 suns' divine fire forcibly burned a space of 100 feet in size from the world filled with evil plagues. However, Xian Lingzi, Ling Xiangmei, and Count Chong were in a very bad situation. They had been hit by Ji Feng's evil power, which was rapidly growing and spreading in their bodies. If they were not treated in time, their lives would be in danger. My Yang power should be useful. Su Fong prepared to use the power of 9 suns to help the 3 people. However, how could Ji Feng give Su Fong the chance to save them? And what kind of Yang power is this? It can actually restrain my power? A green light flashed in Ji Feng's strange green eyes. Immediately, he urged the evil power around him to sweep towards Su Fong. This person's cultivation had already surpassed the hierarch realm. His cultivation was almost at the same level as Qishao Shinjun. Not only could a god of this level freely control the laws of heaven and earth, but he could even create laws in the world and use the natural power of heaven and earth to the extreme. The miserable green aura quickly condensed into shadows, sweeping towards Su Fong and the others from all directions. The pressure on Su Fong suddenly doubled. The power of fire was constantly suppressed and rapidly shrunk from 100 feet to 100 feet. The power of the world of yin and yang. Su Fong urged the power of the world of yin and yang and finally blocked Ji Feng's surging attack. No wonder those stubborn old fellows in the clan have a headache. Sure enough, you have some skills. A 3rd heaven hierarch can actually resist my power. Boy, you are qualified to make me use my most powerful ability. Plague Spirit Crow, go. Ji Feng shouted coldly and changed his hand seal. From the void, a withered yellow branch quickly extended and then crazily grew in a flash, turning into a tree that was 100 feet tall. The withered yellow tree only had a few bare branches and no leaves. It emitted a withered and dead aura. It was not over yet. On the branch, a bird's nest about 10 feet in size condensed. Caw, caw. A few hoarse and strange bird cries came from the nest. Then, more than a dozen strange birds that looked like crows flew out of the nest and pounced on Su Fong. These strange birds were the plague spirit crows that Ji Feng called them. Croak, croak. More than a dozen plague spirit divine crows circled outside the Su Feng's defense and suddenly cried out in unison. The formless sound waves actually penetrated Su Feng's defense and attacked Su Feng's divine aperture, making Su Feng's primordial spirit and consciousness blurry. These so-called plague spirit divine crows could actually release a primordial soul-type attack that was similar to the great Tao of heavenly sound. Fortunately, Su Feng's divine aperture's defense was sturdy, and his original body's primordial spirit was strong enough. Furthermore, his second primordial spirit had fused with his original body, and his primordial spirit's power surpassed the hierarch realm. Otherwise, the primordial spirit's attacks alone would have been fatal. Seeing that his Yuan spirit attack was ineffective, Ji Feng's strange face changed slightly. He immediately formed another seal. Kill him. Whoosh, whoosh. More than 10 plague spirit divine crows flew high into the air and then arranged themselves in order, diving down towards Su Feng. Boom, 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 boom. When the plague spirit divine crows collided with Su Feng's divine aura, a strange and powerful power of decay burst out. It actually shattered Su Feng's divine aura of yin and yang. Kid, go to hell. Your life will be exchanged for the position of Grand Elder. Your life and blood chi will be used by me to raise the plague spirit divine crows. Kikik. Ji Feng let out a strange laugh. More and more plague spirit divine crows flew out from the bird's nest on the withered tree and attacked Su Feng. This person's cultivation is one level higher than mine. He's definitely not someone I can contend against. Do I have to use my trump card now? Other than the yin-yang transformation, there was also the primordial chaos sacred mirror that Su Feng regarded as his trump card. Right now, he was inside the Ji people. There were countless Ji people's experts eyeing him covetously. Naturally, he did not dare to expose the origin sacred mirror. Su Feng also did not want to use the yin-yang transformation. It would consume too much energy. Even if he killed Ji Feng, he would not be able to deal with the upcoming battle, unless he let the Golden Rainbow King activate the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle and leave the Ji people directly. Just as he was hesitating, a sigh came from the unseen world. The sigh did not come from anywhere else. It came from a lake in front of Su Feng. In an instant, Su Feng sensed that the entire lake had life. As the lake water rippled, it emitted a mysterious and majestic aura of life. Su Feng was shocked. Ji Bing is still alive. It's not that Ji Bing is still alive. Shu Wanjin's cold voice came. It's a trace of Ji Bing's primordial spirit consciousness that contained her obsession. It remained in the world and absorbed the essence of the world. It turned into a lake and has a spirit. This lake is also a spirit body. Su Feng asked in surprise, just like the spirit of the Golden Rainbow King's world. Shu Wanjin said, almost, but Ji Bing turned into a spirit body after absorbing the essence of the Jimu. It's different from the spirit of the world. Just as Su Feng and Shu Wanjin were talking, water vapor rose from the lake and quickly spread. Wherever it went, the evil power of Ji Feng was quickly purified. The green world also returned to its original state. The water vapor rolled and shrouded Xianlingzi, Ling Xiangmei, and Count Chong. It washed away the evil energy in their bodies as if it was purified, and the water vapor also contained an astonishing aura of life. It quickly recovered their consumed vitality. Even their primordial spirits were nourished and quickly recovered. Su Feng was also shrouded in the water vapor. He felt the life force of the perfected stage body suddenly become much more active. Although it was not a transformation, the benefits he received were still astonishing. Ji Bing, you bitch. You've been dead for so many years. How dare you jump out and cause trouble? Ji Feng shouted angrily. The mist floating from the lake contained a kind of purifying power. It had a fatal effect on his divine power of the Path of Plagues. Not only was the evil aura formed by his divine ability affected, but even the plague spirit crows were also reduced to nothingness amidst the water vapor. The withered tree and the bird's nest on the tree were also quickly melted by the water vapor. In the end, there was nothing left. Ji Bing, the primordial spirit of the Ji people's second patriarch, appeared above the lake and said, "Ji Bing, the people pitied you and gave you a place to live. How dare you interfere and ruin the important matter of the people? Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you?" Boom! An aura exploded from the ice field and the entire Jinmu. It felt as if the entire internal world of the Ji people was shaking. A powerful will swept over and shattered the primordial spirit of the Ji people's second patriarch. It's the Jinmu. The Jinmu is angry. The Jinmu's second patriarch's expression changed. The other Ji people were also trembling. No one dared to act rashly. The entire Ji people was built on the Jinmu. The Jinmu was originally a living body. Naturally, it had its own consciousness. Perhaps Ji Bing and Mo Shansong's feelings touched the Jinmu. That was why Ji Bing was able to transform into a lake and become a spiritual body. At this moment, the Ji people's second patriarch appeared to threaten Ji Bing and angered the Jinmu. The Ji people's second patriarch's primordial spirit was killed. This scene, Su Fong was shocked. He didn't expect Ji Bing to transform into a spiritual body and appear to help him and save Xian Lingzi and the others. He also didn't expect the Jinmu to help Ji Bing. Ji Fong roared crazily. "Ji Bing, I'll refine the lake you transformed into sooner or later. I'll scatter Mo Shansong's mud into the chaotic void." Sigh. A faint sigh came from the lake. This time, it was very clear. "I transformed into water, and my husband transformed into mud. You still won't let us go." Two figures slowly rose from the lake. Those two figures could be vaguely seen. One of them was a young man in a yellow Taoist robe. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was extraordinarily handsome. He was somewhat similar to Xian Lingzi. The other woman had a peerless appearance. She was otherworldly. Water vapor lingered around her body, making her look hazy. The man held the woman's hand and knelt down in front of Xian Lingzi. He kowtowed 3 times. Xian Lingzi said with a trembling voice, "My son, Ji Bing, Ling Xiaomei, and Uncle Chong were already sobbing." After the two of them finished kowtowing to Xian Lingzi, they stood up and looked at Su Fong. Their eyes were filled with kindness. Su Fong knew that they weren't looking at him. They were looking at Mo Fenghua. The two of them seemed to have seen through fate and karma. They saw their son, Mo Fenghua. "My son," as the woman nodded, a crystalline white and green Xian Guang flashed out of her eyes and landed on Su Fong's heart. Su Fong felt a chill in his heart. After that, he didn't feel anything. However, Su Fong could sense that this Xian Guang contained an astonishing amount of heaven and earth essence qi and yin qi. Moreover, it was similar to the aura of the Jinmu tree. The woman's figure suddenly became blurry. Su Fong suddenly understood. Ji Bing's primordial spirit consciousness had absorbed the essence of the Jinmu tree and transformed into a spiritual lake. This Xian Guang was the condensed life essence. She had given her life essence to Su Fong. At this moment, her vitality was greatly damaged. Then, the man held the woman's hand. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Their eyes never left each other. Then, their bodies quickly blurred and finally dissipated into nothingness. The water in the lake, along with the mud at the bottom of the lake, quickly seeped into the Jinmu tree's leaves and completely merged into the Jinmu tree. In the blink of an eye, the lake and the mud disappeared, turning into a barren land. Senior Mo Shansong, Senior Ji Bing, I hope you can love each other forever in the Jinmu tree, Su Fong said in his heart. Tears flickered in his eyes. Xian Lingzi, Ling Xiaomei, and Count Chong all fell into great sorrow. Shu Wanjin, as well as everyone in the inner world who saw this scene with the help of Su Fong's divine power, fell into silence. Su Fong, who can save you now? Ji Bing laughed wildly. He once again unleashed his divine power to crush Su Fong, Xian Lingzi, and the others. Su Fong was about to use his divine power when a chill surged from his heart. Then, a burst of divine power exploded and merged with the power of the world, forming an amazing protection that enveloped him, Xian Lingzi, and the others. Ji Bing's attack collided with the protective divine power and was immediately purified layer by layer. He didn't have the slightest power. Ji Bing, the one who should die is you. The Ji people should all die. Chapter 21:18. Brat, do you think I can't do anything to you just because that bitch Ji Bing gave you a protective talisman? Undead spirit of the god of plagues, kill. Ji Fong laughed maniacally and waved his arm. A strong aura of death burst out from his body. It was different from the aura of death from the Xiang powder. It was an aura of death and disease. The aura of death quickly condensed into a tall and majestic figure with a strong aura of death. It was like a god of death that ruled over death as it slowly flew towards Su Fong. Wherever the undead spirit of the god of plagues went, the natural aura of heaven and earth would quickly mutate and turn into strong toxins. Even the law of heaven and earth's energy flow was changed by his aura. My undead spirit of the god of plagues was made by collecting the essence of the toxins of all the diseases between heaven and earth. Then I used the souls of millions of people who were dying and spent millions of years to refine it. It had once devoured an expert who had surpassed the hierarch realm. Brat, even if you have that bitch Ji Bing's soul essence to protect your body, you can't escape the fate of being devoured by my undead spirit of the god of plagues. Ji Feng's cold voice was heard as the undead spirit of the god of plagues rushed towards Su Fong. What a good Ji people to have such an evil clansman. Su Fong suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a gust of 9 yang divine fire. It engulfed the undead spirit of the god of plagues and burned it. However, after a series of crackling sounds, the aura of death on the undead spirit of the god of plagues surged and extinguished the 9 yang divine fire. It was not that the 9 yang divine fire lost its ability to restrain the undead spirit of the god of plagues, but the undead spirit of the god of plagues was too powerful. With Su Fong's current cultivation level, the 9 yang divine fire released was not powerful enough to refine the undead spirit of the god of plagues. Looks like I have to deal with it with all my strength. Su Fong didn't hold back any longer. The flower of the heavenly Tao swiftly condensed, and then he struck out with a world-shocking seal that encompassed everything in the world. Yin Yang transformation. As the heavenly flower spun, its dazzling luster changed, and a supreme divine aura that was derived from the heavenly Tao exploded. Chi, chi, chi. Divine power enveloped the god of plagues, the dead spirit, and the seasonal plague. Seeing the endless mysteries contained in Su Fong's Dharma seal, as well as the terrifying aura of the Yin Yang transformation, the divine light of seasonal plague changed instantly. What kind of divine ability is this? The second forefather of the Ji people, Ji Wuji, and the other Ji people's experts were all extremely shocked. It was Emperor Sangxiu, who had been paying attention to Su Fong with the help of the primordial chaos golden list. He had also noticed the extraordinariness of this seal. The Ji people's second ancestor, Ji Wuji, and the peerless experts of the Ji people, including Emperor Sangxiu, instantly performed countless deductions on Su Fong's Dharma seal. In the end, even Emperor Sangxiu was shocked to discover that the seal contained everything, and he was unable to deduce anything from it. At this moment, the astonishment in the hearts of these peerless experts was more than 10 times stronger. Seasonal plague is in danger. Ji Fongo. The second forefather of the Ji people realized that he had still underestimated Su Fong. He immediately sent out experts below the level of an area lord to kill Su Fong at all costs. It would be best if they could shackle Su Fong. The Dharma seal aroused the greed of the second forefather of the Ji people. As Su Fong executed the Yin Yang transformation, the giant builder tree trembled in fear. All matter and energy including the natural spirit chi of heaven and earth and the deathly aura of the god of plagues' undead spirit, rapidly disintegrated and turned into chaotic chi. The yin-yang transformation was just that powerful, reversing the heavenly Tao, refining the postnatal, and returning to the connate origin. What kind of Dharma seal is this? Emperor Sangxiu and the second forefather of the Ji people were in disbelief. Even with their strength and knowledge, this was the first time they had seen such a terrifying divine ability in the myriad worlds. Chi Chi Chi. The deathly aura of the god of plagues' undead spirit was refined by the yin-yang transformation. Its body rapidly turned into nothingness and eventually disappeared. It was the same for seasonal plague. In the face of the yin-yang transformation's powerful divine aura, he had no ability to resist at all. Just as seasonal plague was about to be killed, Su Fong suddenly reached out and sucked seasonal plague into his internal world. After that, Su Fong opened his mouth and inhaled. The flower of heavenly Tao, formed from 6 types of grand Tao laws, collapsed. The chaotic energy that lingered around the flower of heavenly Tao was directly sucked into Su Fong's body, rapidly replenishing the energy he had consumed earlier. After executing the yin-yang transformation once, Su Fong felt as if his entire body had been sucked dry. His entire body was weak and powerless. The energy in his body was almost completely depleted. Fortunately, the chaotic chi refined by the yin-yang transformation might not be able to help Su Fong recover to his peak state, but he had recovered more than half of it. Moreover, his recovery speed was very fast. In addition, the chaotic chi refined by the yin-yang transformation could transform Su Fong's yin-yang world. Although the consumption was huge, the benefits far outweighed the consumption. What a domineering Dharma seal! The Golden Rainbow King's world spirit had seen Su Fong use the origin sacred mirror to kill the peerless powerhouse of the heavenly Peng divine race. Now that he saw Su Fong use the yin-yang transformation again, he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Seasonal plague. Su Fong peeled off a strand of yang spirit and entered his internal world. Seasonal plague seemed to be heavily injured. Moreover, he had lost the dead spirit of the god of plagues. His vitality was greatly damaged. However, Su Fong deliberately controlled his injuries, so his injuries weren't fatal. Seasonal plague was still fierce and incomparably evil. He formed a seal and used his divine art. Unexpectedly, he discovered that he had lost his connection with the heavenly Tao. His divine art had lost its source of power and could not display the slightest bit of power. How dare you be so arrogant in my world? Su Fong's yang spirit sneered domineeringly. He urged the power of his world and the power of will that was like the heavenly Tao to crush seasonal plague. At the same time, the second primordial spirit also used the power of the primordial spirit to break through the defense of seasonal plague's divine aperture and began to possess him. At this time, in Su Fong's inner world, Su Fong was the heavenly Tao. No matter how strong Ji-Fan was, he could only be crushed. In less than an incense stick's worth of time, he was seized by Su Fong's second primordial spirit. Just as Su Fong heaved a sigh of relief, Shu Wanjin thundered, "Be careful! Almost all the powerhouses under the Ji people's region lord have come out." Boom! An invisible sound wave bombarded Su Fong's chest. At this moment, the power of the ancestral dragon armor was activated and blocked most of the sound wave attack. However, this sound wave was very strange. It had the ability to penetrate material and energy defense, shattering Su Fong's flesh and bones layer by layer. His divine palace and divine aperture also trembled and almost collapsed. The sound wave contained a kind of primordial spirit attack power, which made Su Fong's primordial spirit tremble. He felt a sense of loss and fear. PFFF. Su Fong spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was badly mutilated, and he swayed. He looked like he was severely injured. "You can actually dodge my attack. Extraordinary. You are indeed extraordinary. Ji Wuji's 2 lifetimes were killed by you. Even the third forefather was secretly defeated by you. You are not wrong." The space not far ahead vibrated slightly, and quickly condensed into a middle-aged man. This middle-aged man looked ordinary and wasn't very tall. However, his aura was void. Su Fong felt that he didn't even exist. This man was much more terrifying than seasonal plague. His cultivation was almost on par with Heaven Monarch experts like Zhu Yanjun. Furthermore, the heavenly sound, great Dao ability he executed was silent and shockingly powerful. Su Fong was severely exhausted and couldn't sense the attack for a moment. He was severely injured. If it wasn't for the ancestral dragon armor, he would have been turned into a pile of meat paste. The middle-aged man said indifferently, "You can withstand my all-out attack. You are qualified to know my name. Remember, you died in Ji Feng's hands. I will keep your young spirit, strip your memories, and take everything from you." Su Fong took out the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle. The middle-aged man sneered. "Even if you have the sky-piercing golden rainbow, you can't escape. Besides, the divine weapon in your hand isn't the sky-piercing golden rainbow. In your current state, you won't be able to use much of the divine weapon's power." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. More than a dozen experts of the Ji people appeared from all directions. Su Fong's gaze swept across them and instantly raised his eyebrows. Among these experts of the Ji people, there were 10 peak, 9th heaven godly venerables. There were also 3 divine monarchs who were at the same level as seasonal plague. There was also 1 heaven monarch expert who was at the same level as seasonal plague. In order to capture Su Fong, the Ji people had mobilized almost all the experts below the territorial lord level. It was really unbelievable that so many experts would join forces to deal with the young 3rd heaven godly venerables. "Su Fong, are you going to obediently allow yourself to be captured, or are you going to wait for me to suppress you?" Ji Feng looked down at Su Fong as if he was looking at a prey that had fallen into a trap. "If I surrender without putting up a fight, will the Ji clan let me live?" Su Fong asked. In fact, he was rapidly integrating the chaotic qi to restore the yin-yang world's power in his body. Ji Feng shook his head and smiled. "Of course not, but that will make your death easier. If that's the case, I still have to fight for a chance to live." Su Fong waved his hand and swept out a Xian Guang. Seasonal Plague's figure appeared in front of him. "Seasonal Plague is in my hands. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill him?" Su Fong released a divine aura that enveloped Seasonal Plague's body. With just a thought, Seasonal Plague would die on the spot. Ji Feng raised his eyebrows. At this moment, the 2 divine monarchs of the Ji people said in a cold voice, "Suppress Su Fong. Ignore Seasonal Plague. Looks like Seasonal Plague's life is worthless." Su Fong sneered and suddenly sent Seasonal Plague flying towards Ji Feng. At the same time, the Golden Rainbow King activated his world's power and merged it with Su Fong's yin-yang world's power. Su Fong had once merged with the Golden Rainbow King's world's essence. His power easily merged with the Golden Rainbow King's world's power. Then, Su Fong's divine body exploded and rushed into the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle. The sky-piercing rainbow shuttle was immediately pushed to the limit. Su Fong turned into a light state and then turned into a golden rainbow that flew away. "A trapped beast will still fight. I'll make sure you die a horrible death